Is it time?
It is time for us to do what we have been doing, and that time is every day.
We'll know in a very short period of time, but it looks like it could be something that will be not good. Believe me, not good.
I see issue with that. And again, hey.
You're not going to be able to insult your way to the presidency. That's not going to happen.
I don't know who created Pokemon Go, but I'm trying to figure out how we get them to have Pokemon go to the polls.
I'm Ted Cruz, and my pronoun is kiss my ass.
think about it, there is great significance to the passage of time in terms of what we need to do to lay these wires, what we need to do to create these jobs.
America is a nation that can be defined in a single word. I was going to
Not good. Believe me, not good.
My name is Gabor Mate. This is a message for the crew and travelers amongst the boat, the Madeline. People, I'm Jewish. I'm an infant survivor of the Holocaust. I'm in Poland right now, where I just visited the monument to the brave fighters of the Warsaw Ghetto uprising, a small group of people who took on the greatest military in the world, knowing that they can't possibly win, but they fought courageously. Today, you represent those fighters. Today, you represent that small group that's willing to stand up against one of the most murderous militaries in the world, supported by all the world's great powers. And you are carrying all of humanity with you. When I say humanity, I don't mean all human beings, but I mean all human beings whose hearts are open, who believe in justice, who believe in freedom, and who support and are moved by and full of admiration for what you're doing. My heart is with you. I wish you all the best. Even if you don't achieve your objective of reaching Gaza, which of course that will not let you, you have already won. You've already scored a great victory for humanity. Thank you.
Hello, dissidents. Welcome one and all to a Sunday evening edition of the Do Dissidents podcast. Keaton Weiss here with Russell Dobular, of course.
Hello.
That was Gabor Mate giving his shout out and well wishes to the brave souls aboard the Freedom Flotilla. We do have updates for you right now, breaking just before the show. Russ, did you have the whereabouts of the flotilla?
Yeah, so this is their live tracker. Hang on, are you seeing it?
It says before posting to screen, remove other media. Oh, okay. It's being a bitch about that. Okay. All right. Now it should work.
Okay. So their last report before we went on the air was that they were about 150 miles outside of Gaza, and they did indeed get intercepted. That broke right before we went on the air. We have some videos of that. This is the first one.
The IOF is here right now. Please sound the alarm. We are being surrounded by their boats. Yes, this is an interception. A war crime is happening right now. Please sound the alarm.
And here's the second.
They are intercepting our boats right now. Please stay alert. We have no weapons. We are no threat. We carry only humanitarian aid. We are 12 people on board. There are ships surrounding us right now. So please make sure to be loud. We again impose no threat. We have no weapons. We carry only humanitarian aid to a starving population. 2 million people. Lift the siege, end the blockade, stop the genocide now, so that we don't have to do this. Demand your governments do this so that we don't have to do this.
Okay, now I have some last minute word if it's okay, because Francesca Albanese, the special rapporteur for the UN, she is in touch with the flotilla and its communications room, which is in Catania, Sicily. And so as of 17 minutes ago, she tweeted out, "I spoke again with the flotilla, including its comm room. All looks calm and safe now. Speedboats watching, but the flotilla continues its sailing. It will be a long night." And as they say, and we say, we are together. So they are, just to give everybody a little brief sigh of relief, if you want to call it that, although we're not anywhere near out of the woods yet, obviously.
I was actually...
But things seem physically safe for now, so that is better than it could have been, but still something we're going to have to keep tabs on.
Yeah, I was actually going to say the good news of that footage is that we were getting footage. You know, the IDF, when they want to take you out, they'll take you out and they'll worry about the international repercussions later and not worry about them at all. Clearly, the fact that they're still sailing, according to that report, the Israelis are really in a tough spot here, and they know it. They've already lost world opinion. They've lost Piers Morgan, right? So I think they're being more careful than they very often are in these situations.
Well, a huge part of that is that Greta Thunberg is on that ship, man. There's a beloved global celebrity on that ship. That makes them much less likely, pardon me, to lash out violently against that ship. Now, they could be following them and surrounding them. It's likely they will detain them. They'll arrest them. They will detain them. They might keep them there for, a period of time. We don't know. I don't want to speculate too much. But for the time being, things are stable and, at least from a physical standpoint, safe. So that is that gives us a little bit of room to breathe as we go into our first segment, which is going to be, of course, the recent story of the Freedom Flotilla. 1,200 strong in the YouTube chat to start things off. 725 on Rumble. Shout out to Jake in the booth. Should we get going?
Let's get going. So we were worried about this all day. This was shared out by the Freedom Flotilla from Sky News. Israel's defense minister vows to stop aid boat carrying Greta Thunberg from reaching Gaza. Israel's defense minister has threatened to take whatever measures necessary to stop an aid boat carrying Greta Thunberg from reaching Gaza. The climate campaigner, 22, is one of a dozen activists aboard the Madeleine, which set sail from Sicily last Sunday on a mission aiming to break Israel's sea blockade. The activists have said they plan to reach Gaza's territorial waters as early as Sunday to deliver humanitarian aid. Now, it doesn't look like even without the interference, they would have reached it today, given that they were still 150 miles out as of this afternoon, even with the time difference. Rima Hassan, a French member of the European Parliament who is of Palestinian descent, is also on the boat, which is operated by the Freedom Flotilla Coalition. She has been barred from entering Israel because of her opposition to Israel's policies towards Palestinians. Only democracy in the Middle East, folks. Only democracy in the Middle East. So these are the volunteers. You can see a lot of people from France, but you also have Brazil represented there, Spain, and of course, Greta Thunberg there. This is someone who's actually in Gaza with his family put out this video.
Gaza seaport. We are here waiting for the ship Madeleine, a ship of freedom and solidarity. To all the free people around the world, come, sail to Gaza, break the siege, stop the genocide. Gaza is bleeding, but we are still standing. To everyone on board the Madeleine, we are waiting for you. Free Gaza now.
I mean, that's amazing. Just amazing. The whole place is like a moonscape to even have people at that hopeful remaining still there. So this was tweeted out by their account, by the Freedom Flotilla account. So this is what Israel Katz, the Israeli Minister of Defense, put out in a tweet. I instructed the IDF to act so that the hate flotilla, Madeleine, does not reach the shores of Gaza, and to take any measures necessary for this purpose. To the anti-Semitic Greta and her friends who speak Hamas propaganda, I say clearly, you should turn back because you will not reach Gaza. Israel will act against any attempt to break the blockade or assist terrorist organizations at sea, in the air, and on the land. And one sharp-eyed tweeter pointed out, to break the blockade. Funny how they are suddenly admitting to the blockade of aid, right? I thought there was no blockade.
Yeah, I thought they were letting food back in.
They're letting food back in. That is an amazing example of how Zionism is wokeism, right? It's a hate flotilla. You're speaking against us. You're hateful. You're hateful. You're discriminating against our group. Any criticism of anything that we're doing is hate. It's hate. It can be no other because we are a protected class above critique. Holocaust.
Yeah. And according to these guys, Hamas is already hoarding all the food, so they wouldn't be feeding them. They'd be feeding the civilians.
Right. So this was something that was actually shared by one of our longtime viewers, Dwayne Vogel. Shout out. A reminder that you can go from Person of the Year to Anti-Semite of the Week if you want to feed starving children. Welcome to Zionism. Exactly. And on the left, she was honored in 2019 as Person of the Year. On the right, Greta Thunberg labeled Anti-Semite of the Week by Jewish advocacy group. Yeah, Ms. Rachel. I mean, they've just the other day we did a story where somebody said at this point, very much like a lot of political propaganda we see in this country, they're not even trying to talk to people outside of their base.
Yeah, no.
This is just for the believers, because who the hell is going to read that and go, yeah, Greta Thunberg, dedicated anti-Semitic.
Well, it's crazy how the only criteria for being labeled an anti-Semite is having empathy for the Palestinians. It's not like people who say anti-Semitic shit on the regular don't ever get that honor. I mean, you got to have Daryl Cooper out there somewhere saying, man, what do I have to do? I got beat by Greta Thunberg this week. And Miss Rachel, God damn it. Right.
Yeah. Well, remember, I just had an old Zionist friend come at me recently. And, they're all the same, man. Like, what kind of people would celebrate the death of children and carry a coffin through the streets? Like, they get very curated information that is basically has all the political depth of a Rambo movie.
Right.
Their vision of the Palestinian people are just cartoon Nazi villains with no redeeming qualities. Who, the liberal view is that they need to be re-educated.
Right.
They need to, they're victims of evil leaders. That's the liberal take.
Right.
The illiberal take, which is increasingly on the rise, is wipe them all out. So here's something that one of the crew members put out earlier in the day.
On board the Medellin to break the siege of Gaza and to create a people's humanitarian corridor. And we just received some very weird news. That's according to our tracker, we are no longer 162 nautical miles from Gaza, which is where we are. But according to him, we are on Jordan Airport. And we know what that means. When they start jamming our communication, when they start messing with our devices, it means that they are preparing for an interception or an attack. And we all heard the Israeli media saying that they confirmed the Unit S-13 of IOF Special Forces. So they're preparing to commit a war crime. And we need to stop that. We can still stop that. I'm convinced that if we mobilize enough, if we pressure enough the nation states, the governments, we can make such a pressure in the Zionist entity that cannot afford to attack us, to intercept us. We still have a chance to save this humanitarian aid, to preserve this boat, this mission, and ourselves. And we count on you right now. Please share this news. Please share to everyone. There's a lot at stake right now. We know that this mission has been very successful in raising awareness and hope, but we still have a concrete success that we really need to guarantee, which is to bring food to people who are being starved to death. We'll see you soon. We are together. A big hug. Let's transform this world.
And CNN did an interview with Greta Thunberg and another crew member a little bit later.
All those scenarios were included in our risk assessments that we have made prior to getting out on this mission. And of course, we know that it's a very risky mission, and we know that previous experiences with flotillas like this has resulted in attacks, interceptions, violence, and even cases of death. But of course, none of those risks are even remotely as high as to the risk that Palestinians are facing every day just by trying to survive. And right now, as you said, the mission is to get to Gaza to be able to deliver and distribute the humanitarian aid that we're carrying. But we are well aware of the risks going there, but we are aiming for that.
So you were talking, Greta, about the risk assessment and being prepared for any eventuality and any scenario. So let me ask you this. How far are you willing to go? Because we don't know what kind of confrontation you could face. We just know that you've been warned.
Yeah, and of course the uncertainties are very big here. We have gone out on this mission knowing the risks, but again, not saying anything in times of injustice when we are facing genocide. To be silent is by far a bigger risk than getting on this mission. And we are preparing to respond in a non-violent way. We are 12 peaceful volunteers on this mission. We are not carrying weapons. We are carrying food, sanitary products, medical supplies, things that are necessary to get into Gaza that have been prevented by Israel from getting into Gaza. And we are sailing on international waters bringing humanitarian aid. If they stop this humanitarian aid, that is a crime. We are not doing anything wrong here. We are just doing our part to continue to try to break the siege on Gaza and to open up a humanitarian corridor.
That is using your platform for good. That is using your privilege to protect others. That is an incredible example of somebody really, literally, forget about putting their money where their mouth is, putting their life where their mouth is. And I'm not, calling anybody out who's an activist, who's not on that boat. We've said it. We would not be on that boat. That is, you're dealing with a psychopathic nation that is uniquely obsessed with its victimhood and is uniquely capable of justifying pretty much anything in the name of that vision of being a constantly set upon people surrounded by enemies. To get on that boat, you're really taking your life in your hands. And, there are others who are speaking out, not enough, but they're not on that boat, which again, I'm not criticizing them. I get it. But as Keaton said in a clip we recently dropped, in this house, you put honor on Greta Thunberg's name going forward because her life is really on the line here.
Yeah, she's forgetting one thing though, one pretty obvious thing, which is hello, it's Pride Month. No shout out to the LGBT community. Where's the pride flag on that flotilla?
That's the one critique I would make.
Yeah,
it's the one critique I would make, that they're not flying a rainbow flag. Right.
It's a slap in the face to the LGBT community to sail a humanitarian flotilla to Gaza during Pride Month and not mention it.
Yes.
Yeah.
That is what's
disappointing.
Important too.
Disappointing.
Very,
really
very
upset.
disappointing.
In fact, the Israelis might let them in if they have the pride flag, because the Israelis, one of the things the Israelis don't like about Gaza is that they don't like gays there. So if they were bringing homosexuality to Gaza, they might let them through.
Although funny enough, in spite of what the misimpression a lot of people seem to have, you cannot in fact get gay married in Israel. Forget about gay married. You can't have an interfaith marriage in Israel. You cannot have any kind of marriage that is not approved by the rabbinate. So, for example, Keaton's marriage would not take place in Israel. What a lot of Israelis do is they go to Cyprus to get married, and then they come back and it's recognized in Israel. But you cannot, if you're like a Zionist Jew in an interfaith marriage, screaming about how gays, this is the only country that recognizes gays, it actually would not allow you to get married in that country, much less a gay couple in that country.
Can't wait to read the comment section and see all the people who didn't pick up that sarcasm. Like, what the hell are you talking about? Gotta find laughs where we can, folks. This is a heavy show.
Yes. All right. So the Freedom Flotilla tweeted this out. Israel's defense minister has once again threatened unlawful force against civilians, attempting to justify violence with baseless smears. We will not be intimidated. The Madeleine is a peaceful civilian vessel, unarmed and sailing in international waters with humanitarian aid and humanitarian rights defenders. This mission is independent, guided only by conscience and solidarity with Gaza. We are currently about 160 nautical miles from Gaza. Like I said before we went on, they were about 150 miles out. Earlier signal jamming briefly disrupted our location, but our tracker is functioning again. We remain calm and prepared in the face of possible Israeli aggression. We call on world governments to demand Israel stand down. It has no right to obstruct our mission or enforce its illegal and brutal blockade. Let's take another look at where they are. Oh, this won't, I see. All right. So far, so good. So this is the member of parliament, member of the EU parliament here on the boat putting out a statement. This is the last video of this beautiful crossing. As you know, the Israeli authorities have said they're going to intervene to intercept our boat. Everything will be decided in the next 24 hours. What you need to know is that the internet will be cut before this intervention. So we didn't realize how fast she was speaking. For this intervention, so we will not be able to communicate nor film this intervention, and our personal effects will be confiscated, whether it's our cameras or our phones. Afterwards, we will be brought to the port of Ashdod, and it will take 6 or 7 hours. During this time, we will be handcuffed and under surveillance of Israeli soldiers. Thank you. Once in Ashdod, we will most likely undergo interrogation and potentially a detention until being sent back to our countries of origin. I count on your mobilization despite the lack of communication direct from us on our different platforms or network. I believe that several protests are already organized to denounce this interception, to come in more broadly to continue to amplify the update and our voices to denounce the exactions of the Israeli regime in the Gaza Strip. Thank you very much. Okay, so surprisingly, from what you said, they didn't actually do that. When they intercepted the boat, I didn't think at that point they were going to, God forbid, blow them out of the water, given that they were putting out those videos. But I thought they were going to start this process that she's describing. I can only imagine maybe they were in a position where they couldn't get them off the boat without force. Maybe they tied themselves to the boat or chained themselves to the boat, and they got orders from on high. Listen, we just can't have that. So let them go for now. We'll see what they do. So this was something that was put out that is, according to the poster, the Israeli Navy conducting a training exercise off the coast of Ashdod on how to seize the ship Madeleine. But they were not the only ones out there hunting for the Madeleine. Israeli, looks like maybe 10-year-olds put out a video of their hunt for Greta Thunberg. The poster writes, "No way they got their indoctrinated children on a boat to go search for Greta Thunberg." Oh, yes, they did. Oh, yes, they did. Let's roll the tape.
Yeah, we blurred out the faces just because YouTube is sensitive about kids being in videos, but they published this video. They were very proud of it. They didn't blur their faces. We did just in case, because it's not like context or accuracy or truth matters on this platform.
Well, and the fact that they put this out is just one more example, and I think the longer this goes on, the more clear this becomes. These people are too deranged to understand how their propaganda plays to the world. Right. Like the things they think are going to be good for their cause are very often just insane. Yeah, I've mentioned this before. They seem to have stopped. My Facebook for months was inundated with teenage Israeli girls like working the pole in IDF uniforms at their barracks. Like, I don't know why they think that's a win.
Right. Yeah, this is in that category. This is like tweeting out child abuse to the world, because that's what this is. You're about to see, this is child abuse. This is brainwashing children to be hateful and violent.
We're looking for Greta's vote. We're the children of Israel. We're looking for Greta's vote. We have something to say to you all. Are you with me, guys? Yes! We're coming to get you. Woo! Children say the truth. Greta Thunberg, when you were a child, you wanted the good, not the evil. You wanted to protect the world. How come you suddenly became a supporter of terror? You talk about genocide. How can you not condemn the horrors of October 7th? If you want to provide food to the people of Gaza, I suggest you condemn Hamas, because the truth is that Hamas is taking all the food from the people of Gaza, not Israel. And what about the hostages? Are you going to give them any food? I invite you to meet me, and I will show you what the children of Israel are going through. I hope that you will wake up and understand that you are on the wrong side of history. You know, children always say the truth, and I hope that you will see that.
Really?
Am Israel Chai.
It's like children of the figs.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, this is what I mean. You know what? When we were on Bad Faith about a year ago, almost to the day, I told Brianna Joy Gray that, you know, Israelis have generational trauma, and she didn't quite understand what I meant. It was my fault for not clarifying, because she said, I'll show some grace to Jewish people of a certain age who actually survived the Holocaust. And that's not what I mean. I mean, they pass down the trauma of the Holocaust to the younger generation. So it's generational trauma. That's exactly what this is. These kids have no chance of not growing up to be like their parents, and very little chance that they will come to their senses and not raise their kids to be like them. The whole ethos of Israel is just a destructive processing of trauma, right? I mean, that's what this is. It's processing trauma in the most destructive and unhealthy way you possibly can. And that's evidence of it right there.
And just to put a button on it, Max tweeted out, somewhere in the Mediterranean, a Zionist Kinder Nazi naval battalion is currently hunting for Greta Thunberg. And very much, I think, like the Hitler Youth, when the whole Nazi edifice they had been raised to believe was going to last for 1,000 years and that they were going to be placed high in the councils of, had to just go be regular schmucks in a world that despised Nazis and everything the Nazis stood for. That's going to be the trauma, I believe, of this generation of Israeli children, because I don't think they're going to grow up to living in Israel. Not in its current premises, not in its current form. This whole ethno-supremacist premise is crumbling under its own weight right before our eyes. And as we saw with the kids who were raised in the Hitler Youth, that's going to give them a lifetime of shit to process. They'll never really get out from under the psychological damage of living in a world that acknowledges all the people who raised you, the society you lived in, as deluded monsters.
Yeah, it's horrible. I mean, given the context of everything and the scale of the violence that's so one-sided, it's difficult to conjure up the emotion of pity. So I can't quite say I pity them, but it is horrible. I mean, that is
they're children. They don't know
child abuse. They're children. They don't know. They don't know any better. They don't know anything. They don't know anything. To do that to a child is so horrible. It's so horrible. I do feel bad for them on some level.
Well, yeah. I mean, I feel bad for the Hitler Youth.
Right.
How do you, like, they were kids. What do you know? What do you know at that age? That's the whole point. Your brain is a sponge absorbing the signals your society is giving you about how to live within it.
Russell is the godfather to 11 Hitler Youth.
I am. I think if I were 11 were alive, he'd do a sequel to The Boys from Brazil called The Boys from Israel.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So the update once again, just so we have this for the end of the clip here. is that the flotilla is currently surrounded by Israeli speedboats, but progressing towards Gaza. That is the update. And by the time this clip drops, there will certainly be much more news to report, so we'll be a little obsolete in that way. But that is the voyage up until now. And so obviously we will be monitoring that throughout the evening. Okay. Me shoot Skeet, thanks for the $5. Trump's not going to like the Thunberg steal his peace prize. That's right, yes. Iranian Kiddo says, are you saying Keaton is marrying one of our greatest allies? LOL. Thank you, Iranian Kiddo. No, he's saying because I married a non-Jewish woman that they wouldn't recognize my marriage.
I mean, they would as long as you didn't get married there. You would not be allowed to get married in Israel.
Right, right. EO Shush, surprised you guys did a show today since the news has been so slow since Thursday. I figured you would take the day off. Yeah, no, talk about a crazy few days. I mean, the big story on Thursday is almost old news already. The Elon-Trump thing.
Right.
Like, that's like fourth build. That didn't even make the thumbnail tonight. That's how much stuff went down between then and now. Hillary Hinton says, genocide, Jack Boots, Armageddon, Gestapo. Here's the answer to an actually important question. Funniest in descending order. Dave, Bruce, Kevin, Mark, Scott. If you know, you know. I don't know. I don't get that one. I don't get that one, Hillary Hinton. You outsmarted me. You win. We have 2,300 strong in the YouTube chat. That's good for one of these.
Yeah.
And we got 1,000 strong over on Rumble. Thanks everybody very much for being here. Yeah, big crowd. Killing it. Big crowd this evening. Absolutely, absolutely. Huge crowd. Thank you all very much for being here. Just got a couple of things to load in to start this one off because this next piece is very, very video intensive here. Okay, here we go. Alrighty, folks. So we turn our focus now once again to the United States out west in Los Angeles. This all started a couple days ago. ICE raids L.A. Protests break out after dozens taken into custody by federal agents. So this all started because ICE started conducting raids throughout Los Angeles, including 2 locations of the Home Depot, where they arrested workers lining up outside for day labor of the Home Depot. So here is a Fox report on that.
And we're in the Westlake area. This is very close to downtown Los Angeles. Sky Fox over the Home Depot out here off of Wilshire Boulevard. Just moments ago, officers from ICE were out here. That's going to be the Homeland Security, and they did take some folks into custody. What you're looking at right now is a group down there that's mostly media, and they are talking to a lot of the folks that saw what was happening out here. Now, apparently there was some kind of scuffle at one point, possibly even a call for a man with a gun in the area. LAPD arrived out here. They quickly called that a code 4, meaning they didn't find any evidence of that, but we do know that Homeland Security was here. They did take some people into custody. Right now, though, the Home Depot back to normal as it would be, but again, this is happening in the Westlake District and very close to downtown Los Angeles. A couple of people taken into custody by Homeland Security.
And here is some footage from the ground there. Christopher Webb tweets out, ICE agents or bounty hunters are raided Home Depot in Wilshire in Los Angeles earlier today. What's disturbing is that they're wearing masks and vests you could buy on Amazon. They're unmarked cars, and I don't see any IDs on the officers. Regular SUVs with standard plates. So let's take a look at this.
Did they find already the guy who killed these little 3 girls? No? But they're taking people who are working. That's crazy.
Worried about the wrong crimes and shit.
See, the good news is, folks, when they get those guys out of here, your wages are going to go up.
Get the license
plates.
Yeah.
Through the roof.
Yeah, your wages are low because of those 2 guys.
Yeah.
See, your boss wants to pay you more, but it's just that those guys are here. So once they get those guys out, you guys are all going to enjoy great lives. You're going to have that white picket fence that you always dreamed of. Mark Andreessen, Elon Musk, they all want to give that life to you. They want to. It's just that these guys are in the way. That's all.
Yeah.
That's all. So this is a great thing.
Working in a bodega is going to be 35 an hour job soon.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Picking strawberries.
Yep.
It's going to be, people are going to go to Stanford for that.
That's right. That's right. And so protests did form on the streets of Los Angeles. I meme there 4 a.m. says there's an anti-ICE protest happening in L.A. right now. So this was Friday, June 6th. Notice how they're waving the flags of the very countries they're refusing to go back to. Oh, what an own. Here we are. So here are some protests taking shape early Friday. This is before things got rough.
Start shooting shit, make sure that the kids are away, make sure we try to keep ourselves safe as much as possible. If you're gonna leave, do not leave alone. Don't leave by yourself. Make sure you go with somebody else. Si está aquí solo o sola. All free! Who? Streets? All free! What do we want? Stop the deportations! When do we want it? Now! What do we want? Stop the deportations! When do we want it? Now!
Okay. Now, this was another Home Depot in Paramount, California, deploying tear gas. ICE raids a Home Depot in Paramount, deploying tear gas and flashbangs as outraged community members protest. In response, the Los Angeles Sheriff's Department has blocked off nearby roads. Protesters state that ICE has remained in the parking lot for hours, surrounded by the crowd. So this would have been yesterday. Here are some scenes from that protest. Breakthrough News has the footage.
Pepper spray to the people. Why don't you go do that with the people if they're doing wrong? Our street! Our street! Our street!
And here you see ICE pushing back the crowd more. It looks like a war zone right now as the American Gestapo drive back protesters outside of a Home Depot in Paramount, California. Here's some video. So I thought a good response to this. I thought Canada hates Trump had a good response. Dear America, with all due respect, we'll pass on becoming your 51st state. Sincerely, Canada. Yeah, no, who wouldn't want to come here? Who wouldn't want to come here to this country? What a pleasant place to live.
That clip that you dropped about the travel ban. You know how many people from overseas you have in the comments going, I don't want to go there anyway. Who wants to go to the United States?
Exactly, yeah. Exactly. So the Los Angeles Times and some other outlets put out some little photo essay publications just capturing some of these moments. Some of the really intense stuff is too hot for YouTube in terms of the video, but we can show some stills here. So there's a protester ICE out of L.A., demonstrators organizing outside of the federal building, which is the detention center, the Metropolitan Detention Center, where ICE is housing some of the people they rounded up over the past few days. Here are some more scenes as the protests became more intense. They did become quite raucous, and yes, there was a lot of property destruction and looting and things like that. Here is a bigger crowd here forming on the streets. Here's some more scenes from the protest. There's a nice free advertising for Dale's Donuts. I mean, that's a pretty bitchin' little homepage image they have.
Well,
right there.
No, man, they're very entrepreneurial. They just introduced a tear gas special.
Yeah, right, exactly.
You've been tear gassed, you get an extra half dozen.
Yeah, what marketing that is, huh?
Yeah.
So yes, clashes with ICE continue to this day, to this moment. I suspect things are going to get worse over the course of this evening. So this, like our first segment of the night, is a story very much in progress, which could very well be, if not obsolete, a little bit dated by the time we drop the clip, but nothing we could do about that. So Stephen Miller, of course, likens this to an insurrection against the laws and sovereignty of the United States. So last night, Tom Homan got out of his metal box for the first time in a few weeks and went on Fox News. I say this guy looks and sounds like he was raised in a metal box with 2 holes poked in it, giving all his meals in a box.
I give it at least 50-50 odds that Gunther Eagleman was born Sydney Applebaum.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right. Exactly. Yes.
Like that just can't be real.
Yeah.
You cannot be like a right-wing fascist with the name Gunther Eagleman. It's just too on the nose.
That has to be a stage name of sorts. Yeah, I agree. Tom Homan is ticked off after witnessing what happened today in LA. So once again, this was last night on Fox News. So here he is outlining what he and his agents have already done and what is in store for that evening and the day after.
These protests, and thanks for joining us tonight.
Look, we're going to continue doing our job. And yesterday, we got 118 arrests. You know, I was out here yesterday to kick off this operation. And what people aren't talking about is I served, several warrants yesterday. These were criminal warrants. This is a criminal investigation. And today, we're continuing operations. They're not going to shut us down. We're out there right now doing operations. We're going to keep doing operations. We brought in more resources to push back the protesters, but I'll say it again, a serious warning. You can protest all you want. You got your First Amendment rights. But if you cross that line of impediment, or you're putting hands on officers, or destroy property,
it's good to know. We have our First Amendment rights. I didn't know that. Doesn't seem that way.
Doesn't seem that way.
But that's great. I'm so happy you
glad he believes in that.
Yeah, it was really starting to look like we didn't. I'm so glad you reassured us we did.
You can protest all you want. You got your First Amendment rights. But if you cross that line of impediment, or you're putting hands on officers or destroy property, you will be prosecuted. There's zero tolerance on crossing that line, and that's what we're standing by. We're bringing more resources as we speak. We'll have more resources tonight. We're going to continue doing the job that American people voted Donald Trump in office to do, and we're not going to apologize for doing it.
Tom, it's Alicia Acuna. Again, thank you so much for being here. During the protest yesterday, a Los Angeles City Council member called for mobilization against ICE. Listen.
They know how quickly we mobilize. That's why they're changing tactics. Because community defense works and our resistance has slowed them down before. And if they're escalating their tactics, then so are we. When they show up, we got to show up even stronger.
So, Tom, will the Trump administration take action against these public officials who are threatening ICE agents with resistance?
Absolutely. I think Pam Bondi and the Department of Justice are looking at that. And, like I said many times, these elected officials or these non-government organizations, they can't cross the line either. I mean, we got people like, Hakeem Jeffries saying he's going to dox ICE employees, ICE agents out there with masks on. They're wearing masks to protect themselves and their families because they've been doxxed, their families been doxxed, their life's been threatened, their families have been threatened. I know myself, I had over 1,000 protesters at my house. I expect that as the borders are, but these men and women are putting their lives on line every day. They arrested a lot of bad people yesterday and today. They arrested child sex offenders. They arrested people convicted of robbery. They arrested public safety, not only significant public safety threats, but national security threats. They arrested gang members. We're making Los Angeles safer. And Mayor Bass ought to be thanking us for making her city safer. And the term migrant, as Joe Concha rightfully said earlier, they're illegal aliens. There are illegal aliens in this country, and we welcome. We're the most giving country in the world, but these are illegal.
Oh yeah, no, we're very welcoming. Yeah, no, absolutely. I don't know what could have given you the impression that you're not welcome here.
Aliens who committed a crime by crossing this border illegally, then yet committed another crime. Again, yesterday's about a criminal investigation into money laundering, tax evasion, and some of the funds going to cartels in Mexico and Colombia that fund their operations of sending narcotics to this country, killing American people. This is about enforcing the law, and again, we're not going to apologize for doing it. We're stepping up. She says they're going to mobilize. Well, guess what? We're already ahead of the game. We're already mobilizing. We're going to bring National Guard in tonight. We're going to continue doing our job. We're going to push back on these people, and we're going to force the law.
Okay, so you just saw, he says, we're going to bring in the National Guard. So then Donald Trump chimed in. If Governor Gavin Newsom of California and Mayor Karen Bass of Los Angeles can't do their jobs, which everyone knows they can't, then the federal government will step in and solve the problem, riots and looters, the way it should be solved. And yes, Nick Sorter, then just about 40 minutes after that, was fired off on Truth Social, says, breaking, President Trump has officially taken control of the California National Guard and will be deploying thousands of troops to the streets of Los Angeles tonight, per Governor Newsom. Let's go. We're taking our country back. He's starting to get some of those followers back that he lost from the Elon feud, I guess.
Yeah, there you go.
So Newsom tweets out 8:13 p.m. So this is just a few minutes before Nick Sorter tweeted that out. So this is what he is referring to here. The federal government is moving to take over the California National Guard and deploy 2,000 soldiers. That move is purposefully inflammatory and will only escalate tensions. LA authorities are able to access law enforcement assistance at a moment's notice. We are in close coordination with the city and county, and there is currently no unmet need. The Guard has been admirably serving LA throughout recovery. This is the wrong mission and will erode public trust. So there were incidents like this one of looting, cars being set on fire throughout the night. Here's some of that.
You guys want the inside scoop right here? Look, oh man, that one is like looting, bro. Looters, bro. Straight loot. Look at this. That's so sad. What is this? Look at this. Oh my God.
And Donald Trump tweets out then late last night, 11:41 p.m. overnight. Great job by the National Guard in Los Angeles after 2 days of violence, clashes, and unrest. We have an incompetent governor, parentheses Newsom, and Mayor Bass, who were, as usual, just look at how they handled the fires, and now they're very slow permitting disaster. Federal permitting is complete. Able to squeeze that in. Unable to handle the task. These radical left protests by instigators and often paid troublemakers will not be tolerated. Also, from now on, masks will not be allowed to be worn at protests.
Does that include ICE?
Yeah, right, exactly. No, does not include ICE. Masks for me, but not for thee. What do these people have to hide and why? Again, thank you to the National Guard for a job well done. Now, the only problem with that is that at the time he tweeted, the National Guard had not arrived yet. So the morning after, the local news announces that, hey, the National Guard are just showing up now.
Trump thanked the National Guard for a job well done, but we've actually seen them just arrive here this morning, getting set up with riot gear, all of these armored vehicles. So far, a lot of the response has been local law enforcement with some federal officers, but they are clearly gearing up for what could be another intense day of clashes.
All right, so he tweets out, thanks to the National Guard, job well done. Turns out that they were not even on the scene yet. But that's Donald Trump.
We're calling this Operation Cavity Searches for Freedom.
Yeah, right, exactly.
It will commence at noon.
That's right. So Governor Newsom once again tweets out Trump is sending 2,000 National Guard troops to L.A. County not to meet an unmet need, repeating the unmet need claim, but to manufacture a crisis. He's hoping for chaos so he can justify more crackdowns, more fear, more control. Stay calm, never use violence, stay peaceful. So the National Guard then did arrive on the scene in the morning. National Guard troops arrive in Los Angeles on Trump's orders to quell immigration protests. So that was this morning. About 300, so it wasn't 2,000, 300 National Guard troops were deployed in Los Angeles on Sunday on orders from President Donald Trump following clashes between federal immigration authorities and protesters seeking to block them from carrying out deportations. Some of the troops were stationed outside Metropolitan Detention Center in downtown Los Angeles, one of several sites that have seen confrontations involving hundreds of demonstrators and federal law enforcement in the last 2 days. In a directive Saturday, Trump invoked a legal provision allowing him to deploy federal service members when there is a rebellion or danger of a rebellion against the authority of the government of the United States. Approximately 300 National Guard members were deployed Sunday to 3 separate locations in the greater Los Angeles area. According to military officials, several protests and marches were scheduled to kick off on Sunday. The troops included members of the 79th Infantry Brigade Combat Team, according to a social media post from the Department of Defense that showed dozens of National Guard members with long guns and an armored vehicle. So there is the post there. U.S. Northern Command can confirm elements of the 79th Infantry Brigade Combat Team from the California National Guard have begun deploying to the L.A. area, with some already on the ground. Additional information will be provided as units are identified and deployed. In a signal of the administration's aggressive approach, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth also threatened to deploy active duty Marines if violence continues in the region. Remember Trump's former Secretary of Defense, I think it was Esper, said in an interview after Trump left office that Trump asked him why they couldn't just fire on protesters, why couldn't we shoot protesters in the leg? And he explained, obviously, that you couldn't do that. Well, the difference between him and Hegseth is what? Well, Hegseth is just a yes man, right?
Yeah.
This is what makes this a lot more dangerous, is you don't have those moderating influences now.
He'll regret it when he sobers up.
Yeah, exactly. Newsom, a Democrat, described Trump's decision to call in the National Guard as a provocative show of force that would only escalate tensions, adding that Hegseth's threat to deploy Marines on American soil was deranged behavior. It's the first time the National Guard has been federalized in this way since 1992, which oddly enough were also the L.A. Riots at the time. So this morning, a couple of high-ranking Republicans, Mike Johnson, and then we'll hear from Kristi Noem, went on the Sunday shows to ask their thoughts about the military being deployed in Los Angeles. So let's hear Mike Johnson answer the question, could we really see active duty Marines on the streets of L.A.?
Said that active duty Marines there at Camp Pendleton, there by San Diego, are on high alert and could be mobilized. Could we really see active duty Marines on the streets of Los Angeles?
You know, one of our core principles is maintaining peace through strength. We do that on foreign affairs and domestic affairs as well. I don't think that's heavy-handed. I think that's an important signal.
No, I haven't read Orwell. Who's that?
We have to be prepared to do what is necessary, and I think the notice that might happen might have the deterrent effect.
Interesting. Well, it doesn't seem to have that deterring effect so far. As we speak, the riots are intensifying, as could have been predicted pretty easily, I think. So here's Secretary Ducklips going on CBS, Face the Nation. Kristi Noem is asked similar questions about the use of the military in the streets of Los Angeles.
It doesn't want the federalized system here. He says he's got it under control. There's no shortage of law enforcement. Gavin Newsom said he's called in California Highway Patrol. He says the Trump administration is seeking a spectacle here. He's saying to protesters, don't get violent, don't engage.
Well, if he was doing his job, then people wouldn't have gotten hurt the last couple of days. We wouldn't have officers with a shattered wrist from bricks being thrown through their vehicles being burned, flags being burned in the street, and Molotov cocktails being thrown. Governor Newsom has proven that he makes bad decisions. The president knows that he makes bad decisions, and that's why the president chose the safety of this community over waiting for Governor Newsom to get some sanity. And that's one of the reasons why these National Guard soldiers are being federalized, so they can use their special skill set to keep peace. We're not going to let a repeat of 2020 happen. And if you remember, it all happened in Tim Walz's state in Minneapolis, which was a neighboring state, and a governor at the time. And Governor Tim Walz made very bad decisions and then tried to get the as governors to send our National Guard in to bail him out when he let his city burn for days on end.
Okay. Now, you know, what's interesting about this is that in February of 2024, when there was the border dispute in Texas, Kristi Noem sang a pretty different tune, saying if Biden federalizes the National Guard to handle border issues, we've got a war on our hands. So when Biden was president, this was seen as a major provocation, which is what the Democrats are saying it is now.
Democrats have been encouraging this president. They've been encouraging President Biden to come after our states' rights. They've been talking about federalizing our National Guard, which would be the first time in American history that we would have a president that would pay soldiers to stand down, to actually not protect America. And if he's willing to do that and to take away my authority as governor, as commander-in-chief of those National Guard, boy, we do have a war on our hands.
Wow. So what?
Interesting change of attitude on her part. Wonder why that could be. So, Donald Trump tweeted out just a few hours ago, a once great American city, Los Angeles, has been invaded and occupied by illegal aliens and criminals. Now violent insurrectionist mobs are swarming and attacking our federal agents to try and stop our deportation operations. But these lawless riots only strengthen our resolve. I'm directing Secretary of Homeland Security Kristi Noem, Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth, and Attorney General Pam Bondi in coordination with other relevant departments and agencies to take all such action necessary to liberate Los Angeles from the migrant invasion and put an end to these migrant riots. Order will be restored, the illegals will be expelled, and Los Angeles will be set free. And then the standard sign-off now, apparently. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Wonderful. Now, here are some protests that continue in L.A., and as is the case with all of these protests, they are majority very peaceful. Whether it's Occupy Wall Street, whether it was the anti-Iraq war protests, they are generally very peaceful. Most of the BLM protests in 2020 were very peaceful. If you go to these things, it is very unlikely you will encounter violence. So here is a scene.
Except from the cops.
What kind of power? People power. Trump, escucha, estamos en la lucha. Trump, escucha, estamos en la lucha. Trump, escucha.
Yeah. And so I wanted to just point out this morning, and this seemed to do pretty well, seems like a good time to remind everyone that ICE is a creation of the post-9/11 paranoid hysteria that ushered in this modern incarnation of the surveillance state. Ironically, but not surprisingly, the very surveillance state that MAGA claims to oppose. And then I just added this right before the show because I thought we should. Our friend Professor Anthony Zenkis said, when leftists called to abolish ICE, liberals told us to shut the fuck up. We won't forget. Yeah, the abolish ICE protesters of 2017 and 2018, I think, have been pretty fully vindicated over these last couple of days, if not the last 4 or 5 months, if not the last, 5 or 6 years. ICE is a creation of the post-9/11 rejiggering of the security apparatus. The Immigration and Naturalization Service, that was part of the Department of Justice until 2003. And then the Department of Homeland Security was created, and the INS became ICE. And the goal of that was to transition matters like this from matters of policing and law and order to matters of militarization. And that is a very important difference as we're seeing right now. I have a couple other thoughts here because this is obviously fascism, obviously, showing up, picking guys out of a line at a Home Depot parking lot, sending a very, very militarized federal force in, handling protesters pretty violently. Trump boasts of that. Hegseth boasts of that. Obviously, I don't think ICE should be doing these raids. I don't think ICE should exist. I don't think we need ICE. We didn't need ICE until 2003. ICE is a neocon invention. That's the ultimate irony of all of this, is that MAGA claims to be so anti-neocon, such a departure from the Bush era. This is a George W. Bush creation. But I do have to say, this is also an instance where the incompetence and the Orwellian lies of the Democratic Party really enable this kind of fascism, because it is true that there was looting overnight, there were cars set on fire overnight, and it is true that Newsom and Bass are MIA, just like they were MIA during the wildfires. Bass wasn't even in the fucking country. And so that creates a lot of space for these fascists to function. And, in the case of the BLM protests, the Orwellian insistence by the media that, no, it's totally peaceful. And I think like most protest movements, these are mostly peaceful. But when cars are lit on fire, when officers have shit thrown at them, we can't show you that video on YouTube, but that happens. When stores are looted and the state is nowhere to be seen, this is an instance where the public is already, according to the results last November, on Trump's side of this. That's very different. BLM, the polls were overwhelmingly in favor of BLM. And then the raucousness of the protests sat in, and it soured amongst a lot of people the perception of that movement. And so I do think this is a situation where, just as Biden's incompetence at the border, and it was not an open border, right? We had Todd Miller come on the show. He writes about this issue constantly, talk about how, no, they still harass people at the border. They still detain people. They still turn people around. The border was obviously overwhelmed under Biden. Perhaps it was just a matter of volume. But that created a pretext for Donald Trump to come in and do shit like this. And Gavin Newsom insisting, we got this, we got this, we got this, when clearly you don't got this. That creates an opportunity for Trump to say, hey, if you don't have control of this situation, we are going to take control of this situation. And unfortunately, in my opinion, that resonates with me. I believe if you poll people, do you think that the government was justified in sending in the National Guard? I think under these circumstances, most of them would probably say yes. Most of them would probably say yes, because it's very obvious that Gavin Newsom and Karen Bass are fucking horrible at their jobs. And the average person says, well, somebody has to do something. Now, don't get it twisted. I know the nuance of this is a little difficult. I don't think ICE should be there in the first place. I don't think ICE should be a thing. I don't think they should be sending feds into these areas, because all it does, yes, it provokes a reaction. And that is Trump's intention. Trump's intention is not to create a safer Los Angeles. It is to provoke a reaction so that he can get bigger and stronger, so the police state can become bigger and stronger. This is all about building a police state. This is not about bagging a few guys in a Home Depot parking lot. This is about provoking a reaction to provide the pretext for a bigger and larger crackdown and a more muscular security state. MAGA does not give a shit. They just love seeing brown people get harassed. They love that, obviously. But the tragedy of this is that I think politically this does work for Trump. And I think it works for Trump because guys like Newsom and Bass are just so horrible. And if Gavin Newsom thinks that he's running for president between the fires and this shit, not a chance in hell. Not a chance in hell.
Yeah, I thought that about him before the fires.
Yeah.
Because of the problems that California has. California, LA in particular, has really always struck me as a pretty hellish place. I will grant you, I'm kind of Woody Allen-ish about LA, even before it was as economically depressed as it is now. I never had a good reaction to it. But now, when I went, I hadn't been there for a very long time when I went and hosted for Jimmy last year. And I could see, I hadn't been there for 20 years. And I could see how much it had hit the skids, how much of what it was. If you liked that glitz and that glamour, it was that. Of
Right.
course, it always had a dark underbelly. Now it's just the dark underbelly, really. I mean, the elements of that glitz that are there feel very tacked on to an overall kind of depressing city. I said to Jimmy, because I had been to India pretty recently at that point, I said, look, I'm not going to say it's like India, but I'll say it's more like India than Europe.
Right.
Like it's pretty clearly a fucked up place with crumbling infrastructure and not a lot of law. So now between the wildfires and this, I can only imagine what the vibe is there right now. You are right. Look, in terms of the border, we hear a lot of different things. It seems pretty clear to me that to a large degree, for whatever reason, intentionally, unintentionally, whatever, they lost control of the situation. I have seen these border towns right there that are just completely overwhelmed. These are not big cities like New York and Los Angeles and Chicago, where thousands of people can come in without just completely overwhelming the infrastructure. I keep saying with New York, Abbott and DeSantis sent people to New York, but you wouldn't notice it in New York. There are over 8 million people here. You know, you send a few 100,000 migrants here. It's not going to stick out, especially because it is such a diverse city. When you have that many people coming into some of these smaller towns, and we've seen that in Europe as well, where you'll have like small island communities that all of a sudden get thousands of migrants. Now, what's behind that was that I always felt there was intention behind that, whether it's to destabilize the labor market, to set workers against each other, to get a working class that was just starting to really fight to unionize. I thought it was pretty funny timing that you had during COVID, all of this momentum towards unions that you haven't seen in decades. And then all of a sudden you have this flood of immigrants coming up through the southern border. Was it that? Was it actually intended, as now Butler is looking more and more like Ketchup Gate to me, frankly? Was it always intended to get the people who are most likely the MAGA base to fight against an overweening government and a police state to go along with the construction of that state in the name of shutting down this immigration? I don't know. I don't know. It doesn't seem to me like this all happened by accident, particularly when you look at the end game. You know, you get some people saying, well, look, Bernie even talked about how immigration can suppress wages. And I've said, I experienced it. When I drove a horse and carriage, it was great. And then a bunch of people who were illegal to even work in the business, they were on student visas, were not supposed to be working, destroyed it. I wound up, after a few years, I was making 1/5 of what I used to make. I know a lot of people in construction where that used to be a really good job for a working class person, and now it's almost like a subsistence job unless you're in one of the trade unions. So yeah, man, I'm not going to dismiss that argument, but when you put what they're doing in a context, it's clear this is not about empowering the working class. If they cared about empowering the working class, they wouldn't be trying to take away what remains of the social safety net they wouldn't be trying to cut Pell Grants that help. You want people to lift themselves up? Well, you want to help them get an education, don't you? They wouldn't be cutting the Medicaid that 71% of Republicans are against cutting. They wouldn't be giving tax cuts to billionaires that we've run the numbers. The top 1% would on average see $78,000. What's $78,000 to people in that economic class? They're running around talking about how we can't afford these deficits. It's going to destroy the dollar. And they're squeezing the lower class, the middle class, the poor for every nickel to maintain tax cuts that the ruling class would not even notice in their bank account. It probably would not cover their nut for a couple of weeks for people in that category. And they're doing all this for that. So you have to place this in a context. Honestly, I wouldn't agree with this approach to it. If they did that and they were busy getting rid of tax cuts for rich people and increasing supports for the working class and setting up trade training centers, I'd say they're doing it for that reason. Let's talk about a better way to go about this. They're not doing it for that reason. If you look at what they're doing with Palantir and the PayPal mafia, the way they're letting them into all the government systems, Alex Karp's denials notwithstanding, and coordinating all of that information. You've got the physical police state on the street with ICE, which could very easily be transitioned into a federal police force that polices you. And you look at what they're doing with Palantir and the PayPal mafia and, well, Elon until recently, to consolidate all of the information, put it under AI. And that effort is not stopped just because it broke with Elon. So that they can just look and see all of your personal information. They can just hit a button and mobilize all the arms of the government to crush you very easily. When you look at all of that, the immigrants are a pretext to build a police state, and they are being used to neutralize the resistance from the sector of society that's most hostile to New World Order kinds of visions.
Well, of course. I mean, this is what I've been saying now. I've been saying this for months. And just do the math. If you don't believe me, do the math. They arrested a little over 100 undocumented immigrants in this operation. And look at Los Angeles.
Right.
For 100 people, you did this to this city to get 100 people. Really?
Right.
Okay. According to Donald Trump, there's 20 million of them. So if it took this to get 100 of them, you think it's really about getting those 100 guys? No, it's about doing this.
Yes.
It's about doing this. It's about sending the goons in to rough up protesters, to rile up protesters, to provoke a militant response, which I do not endorse because that ultimately sets us back. Right? It does not help. You should not be out lighting cars on fire, looting stores. That's giving them exactly what they want. Donald Trump says he doesn't want you to do that. He does. He wants you to do that because he wants to send more agents in, more National Guard people in. Right? That's what all of this is for. And yeah, ask yourself, does it make sense that they did this to Los Angeles to get 100 guys? Because they knew that this was going to happen. They knew that sending in the National Guard was going to do this. And tonight, it probably, as we speak, things are worse than they were when what I just showed you, which was footage that was at least a few hours old, if not a little over a day old. And so, yeah, you have to ask yourself that for sure. Okay, we're going to move on to the second part of this. So we're, of course, talking about the protests turned riots in Los Angeles in response to the ICE raids on various locations. And I want to highlight one response from this here, which is Laura Loomer saying, time to deploy Palantir to Los Angeles to deal with the illegals. You know you'd love to see it. You're lying if you say you wouldn't. That's right. She wants Palantir to come in. So Blakely, our friend Blakely, says, wow, so you're just saying the quiet part out loud now. You want the same company that's used their AI to murder Palestinians to now be turned on Americans. And you're getting your wish, it seems, since Trump is teaming up with Palantir to create a registry of Americans. Once again, if you're still following and trusting this Mossad op, you're anti-American. So Ian Carroll says, Laura, how would you feel if it was deployed to target Jews? Not great, right? Once you give the government a power, you never get it back. You are giving that power to every future administration. Yes, that's the lesson of this. And when you look back at the creation of ICE in 2003, when you look at what the Trump administration has done on a whole, vis-a-vis detention of immigrants, criminalization of pro-Palestine protesters, this is a realization of the worst possibilities of those Bush-era policies. This ironically feels more like the Bush years than any time since the Bush years. And Donald Trump was supposed to represent this break in the Republican Party from George W. Bush-style neoconservatism. Does not feel like that. So the question should always be, what if this was used to target me? Well said. Drew agrees, though. He said this yesterday, Laura. I give Palantir permission to find every single one of these fuckers and report them to the federal government. They want to spy on people, spy on these illegals that aren't supposed to be here. Yeah, I'm sure that's what they intend to do. Like, it's just unbelievable. It's just so incredible. The big, beautiful bill calls for $45 billion in funding for ICE jails. As Russ said in the last piece, you think they're building those just for immigrants? No, they're building that because they want a federalized police force that can detain and imprison and charge whoever they want. Mad Crab, our friend Big Mad Crab, says they're now openly calling on Palantir to remove illegals. Do you see how they're using the PSYOP to make you accept their power? Yep. Exactly right. Exactly right. Postuopolis says they're fighting the deep state. Clown emoji. Yes.
Has no one seen Escape from New York? Like, that's exactly what it is. They have the United States police force.
Yeah.
That's who that's who's processing everybody in the movie.
Yeah. Yeah. And I thought of this meme. MAGA, fuck the deep state, take the mask off. It is the deep state. Yes. Yes, that is really the lesson of all this, and that is really the tragedy of all this. And it's not surprising. You know, people who crave power like this, once they wield it, the power is too seductive for them to try and rein it in, or for them to try and think about higher ideals, or for them to even ask a question as simple as, hey, what happens when someone else has this power? If someone else has this power, can they use this power over me? And we've said this over and over again about Trump supporters, broadly speaking. I know not all of them, but the vast majority, and just about all of the most vocal ones online, which is the water in which we swim, they are acting as though they will be in power forever. Like, they're not acting in a way, and this is the breakdown of democracy, when people in power start thinking that their power is permanent and acting as though their power is permanent. In order for a democratic system to function, there has to ultimately be some gentleman's agreement that there is fealty to a higher ideal. In other words, I want X. Would I do anything to get it? In a democratic system, you have to say, well, no, I wouldn't do anything to get it. There's things I wouldn't do to get what I want, even though I want it. Because ultimately we have to defer to a democratic system, which ensures, very critically in a democratic system, the rights of the minority. In other words, the rights of those who lost the election. That's why we have a judicial branch. That's why we have courts, to protect the rights of the minority, so that whoever wins the election doesn't get to run roughshod over the people who lost, right? Because in a democracy, you're going to have winners and losers. But if we have equal rights and equal protection under the law, the rights of the minority have to be preserved. And I thought the Biden team overstepped in major ways, broke that gentleman's agreement in major ways, January 6th being a big one, obviously. But this crew is just coming in and escalating beyond it, to the point where, they're not thinking about what happens if and when power changes hands. And power will change hands. No power is permanent. There's no such thing as permanent power. It will change hands. And they are just incapable of thinking about that. It's just, it's incredible. This is the anti-deep state takeover. Palantir should spy on the... What the fuck? You think Palantir got $1 billion to spy on people selling churros in the subway? That's what you think they got $1 billion for? It's delusional and insane.
Yeah, and this is really the next logical step, and this always happens throughout history, in a population that's been economically disenfranchised. They become vulnerable to this kind of demagoguery because they feel disempowered and voiceless.
Right.
People who feel confident and protected and secure, they're not attracted to this kind of rhetoric about the other. Right? They're doing their thing. They're happy.
Right.
They don't need to attach themselves to, you know what? I think Palantir should investigate them all. Like, what's the psychology behind that?
Right.
Clearly, you feel like you have no power and you have no voice. You can only exist through a movement, and a movement that punishes somebody who's not you, and thereby makes you feel like at least you're not them. That only appeals to a population that is impoverished and disempowered. That's why societies with with a large and prosperous middle class are usually more stable. And when you get the kind of wealth inequality we have now, it inevitably leads to social collapse. It always does. That's not a stable basis for a society, and they know that. That is why, piece by piece, they're building a police state, because they know that as soon as MAGA figures out they've been had, they're not going to be able to rule by anybody's consent.
Yeah, and not only is this in anticipation of that, but also the more they brutalize immigrants, frankly, the more they expand the timeline and buy themselves time with the base, who clearly enjoy this, right? And this is their go-to. This is their go-to. Trump signed that he signed that travel ban right as his relationship with Elon was falling apart, and he knew it was going to be a big rift in the coalition. He knew that was going to be a big political problem. So what did he do? He signed the travel ban. This is the red meat for the base. I know it's not every Trump supporter. We don't need people commenting, "Hey, I voted for Trump," but blah blah blah, or my nephew is a Trump supporter and he's a nice guy. Okay, fine. By and large, this is what gets them going. This is what they respond to. This is what they like to see. They like to see us closing the door on Africans and Latin Americans and Muslims from around the world, and they like to see guys dragged out of a Home Depot parking lot in handcuffs. Shoot it into my veins. That's what they say on X, right? With a picture of that. I mean,
this is what I voted for.
This is what I voted for, and this, not the Palantir thing. The Palantir thing. What's so amazing about that is that that really is not what they said they were voting for when they voted for Trump. It's supposed to be an anti-deep state revolution. But this, the harassing of immigrants, this is what they voted for, which means, to go back to our last piece, on a macro level, Trump can say, in this instance, I was elected to do this. Because you know what? He was. He wasn't elected to build a Palantir database. That's a betrayal of the country. This here is not. This is what people voted for. He did have a mandate to do this. I don't like saying that, but that's true. And that's why when you got fucking useless fucking morons like Gavin Newsom and Karen Bass say, no, we got this under control, we don't need any help, that makes it worse. That makes it worse because we had an election about this. We had an election about this. All you're doing is reminding people why, as much as they might not like seeing this, they did vote for it. They did vote for it.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Here we go. Anthony Ringette, thanks for the $5. Bruce, Kevin, Scott, Dave, Mark. Yeah, that's an inside joke going on. Do you get that? I don't get that. I don't know what that is. No.
I do not.
I don't.
But I have a plan.
But thanks for the donation. Yes. I said that looks like Russell. Doesn't it look like him? When you wear sunglasses, that kind of looks like you.
A little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. Barefoot Pookie, thanks for the $1.99. Iranian Kiddo, that ain't LA, that's Fallujah. Thank you, Iranian Kiddo. The Madeleine just got attacked with chemical weapons, also raided by IOF forces. When did we see that?
Yeah, I didn't want to break your flow. Yes, apparently they've been arrested now, according to our chat.
Okay.
Let me, you do your thing. I'll go to their site.
Okay. Well, that is what they expected would happen. Like, the people on board did expect to be arrested and detained. Salamander Fry, thanks for the $10. Hey, you guys are all right. You're all right, Salamander Fry. Thanks for that. Brad Gilbert, thanks for the $5. LA is a 15-minute city with Palantir's Gotham. This is a uniparty manufactured crisis to gain manufacturer consent, just like in Germany 100 years ago. Thank you, Brad. Iranian Kiddo says Marines haven't been deployed to LA since Rodney King riots in 92. Yep. David Santucci, thanks for the $20. Appreciate that. Says Keaton is right. When protests turn violent, they often lose public support. That's what provocateurs are for. Thank you for that.
Okay, I guess I'm just going to screen share.
Okay.
For the update. All right, so this is drop site. Yep. All right, so according, you got it?
Yep.
Oh, right, you got it.
It's there. I can see
it. Okay. All right, so Israeli forces have boarded the Madeleine in international waters. Freedom Flotilla Coalition reports connection with the ship has been lost. The video below was recorded around 2:30 Eastern time before the Israeli military stormed the vessel. So let's see that.
That looks like that restarted. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So that's the word as of now, which is what they expected would happen.
Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly what the French member of the European Parliament said. I forget her name.
Yep. Rima Hassan, I think. Yeah, that's what they expected would happen. Okay. All right. Thanks, chat and Russ, for the update. Okay. Eric Rousseau, Snake Plissken, I shut down the third world, you win, they lose. I shut down America, they win, you lose. The more things change, the more they stay the same. Escape from LA. Thank you, Eric Rousseau. Appreciate that very much. Eric Rousseau, Zionist Jews boycotted gay pride. Yeah. There you go. Zionist Jews boycotted gay pride celebrations in San Diego. Hilarious. These victim bullies are afraid of the gays now. Thank you. It's Vito. Sail on Madeline. Sail on my babies. Cancer sucks. You guys rock. Thank you, Vito. Appreciate that very much, man. Okay. EO Shush. Let's see. I wanted to shout out the heroes in the IDF. The fear they are feeling now must be equivalent to what the Nazis felt on D-Day when they saw those thousands of Higgins boats storming Normandy. I think you solved the ice problem, gentlemen. They didn't wear the rainbow camouflage. Thank you, Ham Hawk. Appreciate that very much. I am the Owl. Says confusing times. Russ and Keaton say negative things about Elon, but my AI chatbot girlfriend and my Bitcoin shaman liken him to a messianic figure. Who do I trust? Good question. I am the Owl. Appreciate that. The benefit of the echo chamber, says Dedamod, is that once you capture someone is likely permanent, Israel keeps getting smaller and more repulsive daily. Go Piers. Kinder Nazis was my favorite show after Sesame Street. Thank you, Get Up King. Appreciate that. Okay.
Max Blumenthal is a funny motherfucker.
He is.
If you ever get a chance to see his stand-up, he's very good.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Very good. Very funny. Very, very funny, that guy. ICE raids were purposely conducted to create protests and violence to manufacture consent for the police state. Yes. Yep. You're paying close attention, Eric Rousseau. You passed today's quiz. Let's see.
Tell him what he wins, Keaton.
Yeah. Regarding my previous rant, the 90s answer to Monty Python, Dave Foley, Bruce McCulloch, Kevin McDonald, Mark McKinney, Scott Thompson, the kids in the hall. Oh, yeah, I did not know that. Eric Rousseau says those violent protesters had Israeli flags. The police would give them a police escort and a parade. Well, that's the other thing. I meant to mention that as part of the segment. What is strange is that, yeah, the media is saying these protests are mostly peaceful, which, to be fair, all these protests are mostly peaceful. But they're definitely de-emphasizing a lot of the violence and stuff. And what's interesting about that is that none of these things happened at any pro-Palestine protest. You never saw looting of stores. You never saw torching of cars. Yet they categorize the pro-Palestine protest as violent. And yet they're not anywhere near as disruptive as this, which makes you think, yeah, man, there is certainly reason to feel like there is an agenda behind immigration. Don't really know what it is. And there's definitely a sort of effort to whitewash the protests. And like I said, it's nuanced because I support the protests overall. I think they're mostly peaceful and all that. We saw throngs of people marching in the streets, permits and everything, microphones, the whole thing. But yeah, things tonight are going to get very bad, I think. And I hope I'm wrong. Okay, let's move on. Kilmar, Abrego Garcia got a big update.
Hang on. I was just putting a video in for the next thing.
Okay.
All right. Coming back. Mm-hmm.
Just want to stop the screen share. That'll make your videos work better.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
There you go.
All right. We will periodically check back in on the Freedom Flotilla's X site. Seems like that's where they're putting out updates. All right. So friend of show, Abrego Garcia has been returned to the United States. This is what Pam Bondi had to say about it.
Conspiracy to commit alien smuggling in violation and conspiracy to commit alien smuggling in violation of Title 8 USC 1324. We want to thank President Bukele for agreeing to return Abrego Garcia to the United States. Our government presented El Salvador with an arrest warrant, and they agreed to return him to our country. We're grateful to President Bukele for agreeing to return him to our country to face these very serious charges. This is what American justice looks like. Upon completion.
They had to be fucking dragged, kicking and screaming.
She's got a future in comedy. This one. Yeah. Okay. So for anyone,
unlike what we tried to do to the guy, which is just disappear him for life with no trial, no charges, no nothing.
Yeah. So for anyone who hasn't been keeping up, I assume most of you had, the Supreme Court ruled 9-0. That means even Clarence Thomas felt this was too far. That you cannot just grab a guy that a court has given an order of non-deportation to and just deport him to a foreign prison and just leave him there with no due process. Now, their only hesitation, the ambiguity in their order, is they said they had to facilitate his return because they felt that it may exceed the court's authority to order them to do something that may involve the military, right? What if the foreign leader refuses to return him? So they didn't give the order, you must return him.
Right.
Or as you must facilitate it. Now, Pam Bondi, in a slip of the tongue that I am sure she got chewed out for later on, in their infamous Oval Office press conference with Bukele dressed like a Miami Vice reject for Villain of the Week, she said, well, we would send a plane and facilitate his return. I'm sure that was off script. But it seems like they decided, they must have powwowed and said, hey, you know what? Instead of fighting this whole court order and, that's been a cudgel against us, even Republicans, a majority agree that we should adhere with Supreme Court orders. You know what? This could be like a real propaganda win for us if we load him up with charges and then throw it back at the Democrats. Look at who they defended, right? So it seems like that's what's going on. They decided, hey, this could be a win-win. We can get out from under the accusation that we're defying the Supreme Court, and we can also force the Democrats to defend their defense of this human trafficker as they're accusing him of being.
Of his sentence, we anticipate he will be returned to his home country of El Salvador. The grand jury found that over the past 9 years, Abrego Garcia has played a significant role in an alien smuggling ring. They found this was his full-time job, not a contractor. He was a smuggler of humans and children and women. He made over 100 trips, the grand jury found, smuggling people throughout our country. MS-13 members, violent gang terrorist organization members throughout our country. Thousands of illegal aliens were smuggled. This is especially disturbing because Abrego Garcia is also alleged with transporting minor children. The defendant traded the innocence of minor children for profit. There are even more disturbing facts that the grand jury uncovered. It is alleged this defendant is part of the same smuggling ring responsible for the death of more than 50 migrants in 2021 after the tractor trailer overturned in Mexico. This is part of that same ring. The defendant abused undocumented alien females, according to co-conspirators who were under his control while transporting them throughout our country. This defendant trafficked firearms and narcotics throughout our country on multiple occasions. They were using vehicles, SUVs, with added seats in the back, floors that had been ripped out, guns, narcotics, children, women, MS-13 members. That is what the grand jury found. A co-conspirator
bootleg
alleged that the
DVDs
defendant
of South Park
solicited
seasons
nude
1 through 8.
photographs and videos of a minor. A co-conspirator also alleges the defendant played a role in the murder of a rival gang member's mother.
Okay. So one person, being black as a vibe, pointed out, you all notice this is the very first time that this has been mentioned about this man? They literally had the president holding up fake screenshots of gang tattoos related to this man, meaning the MS-13 printed on the photo that Trump insisted was not photoshopped. And remember, the person there at the podium in this video is the same person that told us the Epstein files are sitting on my desk being prepared for release. And Michael Parlberg, if the government really had evidence of a decade-long trafficking conspiracy by Abrego Garcia, maybe they should have charged him sometime in the last decade and not a month after they illegally deported him and needed a face-saving pretext to bring him back.
Exactly. This is what if I could just interject for 2 seconds. I forget who said it. One person said, if it wasn't for President Trump, we wouldn't know any of this about this guy. Well, no, that's completely backwards. If it wasn't for the people who objected to his illegal deportation to El Salvador, we wouldn't know anything about this guy. You guys just tried to disappear him with no accusation and no charge. It's because of people who dissented, like Chris Van Hollen, like people like us who said, no, you can't just disappear him without due process. If you have a case against him, you have to articulate the charges, as she just did, and prove that case to a jury, which they will try and do now, and we will see what happens. The idea that this is a massive own against the Democrats and a massive own against those who championed his return to the country is absurd. We have said from day one, we're not defending the man. We're defending the man's due process rights. And so it is very important that they bent the knee and agreed to charge him and bring him through, yes, an American form of justice, as opposed to put a bag over your head and fly you to a foreign country and oops, nothing we can do now, we're done.
Exactly. That is all anybody was asking.
That's all anybody asked for.
It was never about him. Now, according to the NBC News article that I'm going to draw on a little later, they say the evidence is strong that the truck, they claim they were coming from St. Louis when they stopped him, that the GPS or whatever evidence they used showed they hadn't been anywhere near St. Louis. And yes, that's fine. That's called due process. As everyone who was making this argument pointed out, it was never about him. It's about us.
Right.
It's about us. If you're not terrified at the idea of the government being able to do extra legal deportations to foreign torture prisons, and you think that's not going to come back on American citizens, you're crazy. Once you open the door that you can deport, they admitted themselves that it was a mistake to deport him. So that's not even a point of contention. They admitted they should not have deported him. So what's to stop them then, if they can do that with no due process, from doing it to you? That was always the point. But on the, yes, there's a lot of owning. There's also a lot of being mad that they brought him back from their people. So Matt Strickland, they knew he was a criminal when they deported him. It's why they deported him. Once again, no transparency from Pam Bondi. Just more bullshit. We don't want him back to face a charge in which he'll do little time for. We want him gone forever. Like you told us. Like you told us.
You promised us the brown man would never come back.
You promised us he'd spend the rest of his life being Nanowhammy. I just don't understand why he's back. I don't really want constitutional protections.
Well,
I'm a drone who spends all day on social media looking for rage bait. He could have stayed in that prison for life. Our unequal justice system will give him preferential treatment.
Oh, yeah, he's going to get a sweetheart deal.
I promise you this is a white person talking about our unequal justice system, much less than he would have gotten in his home country. I am livid about this. Who the F decided to bring him back? Well, at least Nanowhammy watches their language.
No, I'm telling you, man, pura vida.
John Charles Baker. Who was the corrupt judge who ordered this? Well, that would be, Pam Bondi, I guess, the corrupt prosecutor Trump's pick there.
It would also be all 9 Supreme Court justices.
All none, yeah, including your boy Clarence over there.
Yeah.
Abolish, defund their court. See, these people are, this is what I've said from the beginning when all of this blew up. You cannot be saying that you want courts defunded and judges arrested because you don't like their decisions, and then say that you're a proud American who believes in democracy and the Constitution. It's one or the other. If you want to say, I don't believe in the Constitution, look at the state of the country, it doesn't work. I want to be ruled by an all-powerful strongman and his crafty Silicon Valley minions. Now you're making an honest argument. But to say that on the one hand, you want to defend America's traditions, and on the other hand, you want judges arrested and defunded, you're a fascist.
Yes.
Defend fascism. That would be an honest, make a philosophical case for fascism. That is what you believe in. That is what you in fact believe in. So Chris Van Hollen put out a statement on this. For months, the Trump administration flouted the Supreme Court and our Constitution. Today, they appear to have finally relented to our demands for compliance with court orders and with the due process rights afforded to everyone in the United States. As I have repeatedly said, this is not about the man. It's about his constitutional rights and the rights of all. The administration will now have to make its case in the court of law, as it should have all along. And I just want to point out, because I know a lot of the chuds don't get this. No, he doesn't have those rights. He's not an American. Well, okay, so think this through for a second. You're saying that people within our borders are not protected by our laws. So what's to stop you from just killing a non-citizen then?
Right.
If they're not protected by our laws, why can't you just do whatever you want? If you rob somebody, you'll get arrested, right? It doesn't matter if they're an American citizen. That applies here too. That applies to all the laws of the United States. Apply to everyone within the borders. Even if they're here illegally, the laws still apply to them. It's really not a hard concept. So Van Hollen went on CNN and talked about this a little bit.
I want to read part of a statement released by the White House. They said in part, the Democrat lawmakers, namely Democrat Senator Chris Van Hollen and every single so-called journalist who defended this illegal criminal abuser, must immediately apologize to Garcia's victims. Your response to that?
You know, I will never apologize for defending the Constitution. In fact, it's the Trump administration and all his cronies who should apologize to the country for putting us through this unnecessary situation, and to Abrego Garcia for putting him through this situation and his family. All I have said from the beginning is that the Trump administration should respect the rule of law and the Constitution of the United States. So really, it's President Trump who should apologize to the country for violating his oath to the Constitution. I'm glad in this moment they're finally doing what the Supreme Court said, but they continue, Anderson, to violate the Constitution in many, many other cases.
Senator Van Hollen.
Okay, and from the "we owned you" side of the universe, me watching Democrats twist themselves into knots to celebrate Abrego Garcia being back in the U.S. for human trafficking charges. Be careful what you ask for. Here's your due process, bitches.
So dumb.
Well, thank you. Thank you. That's all anybody wanted. If he's guilty of the charges, let them prove it in court and let him serve whatever sentence comes out of a judicial process. It's called rule of law, bitches. So little more detail on this. The sudden return of Kilmar Abrego Garcia to the United States on Friday to face federal charges of smuggling migrants across the country was a messaging triumph for the Trump administration. Depends on who you ask.
Yeah, no, it wasn't. I mean, it is if you're a moron. If you're an absolute moron, then it's a messaging win. Yeah.
You're writing for NBC.
Yeah.
The news deflected public. That's how you get a job there. The news deflected public attention from a series of unanimous court rulings. I always think of Pacino and Gary Glenn Ross. Whose fucking nephew are you?
Whose dick are you sucking?
The news deflected public attention from a series of unanimous court rulings, including a Supreme Court decision that President Donald Trump did not have the power to unilaterally detain and deport individuals to foreign prisons without a review by a judge. And the allegations against Abrego Garcia are damning. A federal grand jury found that the 29-year-old was an MS-13 member who transported thousands of undocumented immigrants, including children, from Texas to states across the country for profit for 9 years. He allegedly also transported firearms and drugs, abused female migrants, and was linked to an incident in Mexico where a tractor trailer overturned and killed 50 migrants. Simon Sandoval Moschenberg, a lawyer representing Abrego Garcia, said Saturday that he planned to meet his client for the first time on Sunday, but declined to further comment. A former senior law enforcement official who spoke on condition of anonymity, citing fear of retaliation, said he was struck by the large amount of resources the DOJ put into investigating Abrego Garcia. Quote, they came hard at a relatively low-level guy, which does not necessarily make it improper, just odd. Perhaps they wanted the last word, which seems childish, said the former official. Typically, you work up the chain, not down it. That said, at least he gets his due process rights this time around. In an unusual move, Bondi also described allegations against Abrego Garcia that were not included in the indictment. She said the co-conspirators alleged that Abrego Garcia solicited nude photographs and videos of a minor and played a role in the murder of a rival gang member's mother. For decades, attorneys general from both parties and state and local prosecutors have generally accused defendants of crimes only for which a grand jury indicted them. Discussing other potential crimes has long been regarded as an abuse of prosecutorial power, risking unfair harm to defendants' reputations. A former senior Justice Department official who requested anonymity, citing fears of retaliation, said that Bondi often speaks as a partisan Trump loyalist, not a neutral law enforcement official. Oh, you think so? She says the president's name every time, said the former DOJ official. She talks more like a politician stumping for a candidate than an attorney general who is out there talking independently. You can see that in the words she uses. And yes, Pam Bondi is embarrassing in her North Korea levels of praise of the dear leader in their press conferences. So this was a little sideshow in this. One of their assistant U.S. attorneys seemed to have resigned in connection with this prosecution. It is not clear, and he's not saying if he resigned in protest. Around the time that Kilmar Abrego Garcia was indicted in the Middle District of Tennessee, the chief of the criminal division in that district posted this on LinkedIn. There's Ben Schrader. Earlier today, after nearly 15 years as an assistant United States attorney, I resigned as chief of the criminal division at the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Middle District of Tennessee. It has been an incredible privilege to serve as a prosecutor with the Department of Justice, where the only job description I've ever known is to do the right thing in the right way for the right reasons. So strange. Hey, look, if they have the evidence, prove it in court. NBC says the case is strong. That doesn't mean the case is strong. So we shall see. These are people who deported a gay hairdresser to CCOT for the crime of actually showing up to his pre-planned appointment, who deported a guy for having a tattoo supporting the soccer team in Spain. So them saying that they have this guy red-handed, it doesn't mean anything. And if they do, hey, well, he'll have his day in court. That's all anybody was asking for. So Kristen Welker kind of got a scoop this weekend. She's going to be in 2 pieces we have tonight. She talked to Trump about the case.
Well, the Supreme Court ordered the Trump administration to facilitate his return. President Trump telling me he did not call the president of El Salvador to directly ask for Abrego Garcia's return. Asked if he brought him back to the U.S. because of the court's order, Mr. Trump said it wasn't his decision. It was handled by the Justice Department and believes, quote, it should be a very easy case.
He also went on to talk about how Van Hollen and the Democrats are morons, typical Trump stuff. This from Axios, though, and this is another reason to be somewhat skeptical at the claims of them having a slam dunk case. A federal judge recently granted a motion filed by Abrego Garcia's team to sanction the Trump administration if it doesn't provide discovery evidence by June 11th. Now, okay, this is an administration staffed by incompetents, nincompoops, crackpots, narcissists, weirdos, freaks, and drug addicts. So it could just be simple incompetence. But it's very weird if you have a slam dunk case against this guy that a court is having to force you to hand over the evidence to the defense. Again, it could be the list of pathologies that are typical of this administration and just general incompetence. Could also mean they don't have what they say they have and the evidence is not as strong as they're claiming. We shall see. In a separate case, District Judge Paula Zinnis also granted a request for more than a dozen news organizations to unseal a batch of documents and a court hearing transcript. So it sounds like we will soon know more about this. Now, for civil libertarians, for people who are arguing for his return and his due process rights, as we have been from the beginning, this is not an own. This is a triumph. This is exactly what we were fighting for. If he is indeed guilty of these charges, let them prove it in a court. And then they've been saying, well, he's only going to be deported. Fine. Then deport him through a legal process. Not for him, for me, for you, for all of us. Once you allow the executive unlimited power to deport and imprison people, that has broad implications for citizens, not just non-citizens. Once you can ignore the courts, what is to stop them if they don't like you went and protested against Israel, their principal funder? Hey, yeah, we accidentally deported them to CCOT. Sorry.
Right. Exactly. This is about everyone getting to live with a certain peace of mind that they cannot be disappeared with no notice for no reason or for any reason that the government wants. That's what this is all about. Now, as for his trial, yeah, of course they're going to try to load up the charges because they don't want to end up having this guy walk. That's a lot of egg on their face. They trust that the country is stupid enough to think that this is an own of Van Hollen, which they're probably right about. The country probably is dumb enough to take it that way. I know certainly most of the people in my life are dumb enough to take it that way. So I wouldn't be surprised if they do end up with some kind of political win out of this. But you know what? Look,
not Amanda, right?
Not Amanda.
I'm not talking about Amanda.
No, not her.
All right, okay.
She's only one person.
Not the twins.
No. But most of my most of my Facebook friends, my extended family, most of them are probably dumb enough to give Trump the win on this. But you know what? I'm not a partisan. I don't care if they get the win on this. Like if they take the political win on this, that's okay. The much more important thing is that they did walk back their claim that this guy would never set foot on American soil again. They said over and over again, he's never coming back. Fuck the courts. Fuck everyone. He's never coming back. And they caved. They folded because they realized they kind of had to. And that is a very, very good sign, no matter how this case goes. I don't know what kind of fair trial this guy is going to get because you talk about the government, poisoning the case against him. But that's for people who get paid a lot more than we do this show to figure out. The bottom line is Pam Bondi comes up and says, the balls on her to say, this is the American form of justice. Yeah, this is the American form of justice that you had to be dragged kicking and screaming into overseeing. You wanted to do it the complete other way. Yeah.
Right.
All right. I. Thanks for the $10 super sticker. Appreciate that very much. All right, we're going to take a quick game break to hear from Rumble Premium, everybody. So this sponsorship is from Rumble, and it's one that's incredibly important to the survival of the company. When Rumble first started in 2013, they built the platform for the small creator. They did not censor or have biases. They were fair and treated all creators equally. No one thought platforms would censor political conversations or opinions on issues like COVID, but they did. Facebook admitted they fell to pressure from the Biden and Harris administration. Rumble did not cave, however. They held the line for free speech, and they're attacked daily for giving shows like us a voice to talk to audiences like you. They're attacked in corporate media, attacked by governments like France, and attacked from brand advertisers who refuse to work with them. So while corporate America is fighting to remove speech, Rumble is fighting to keep it. But Rumble won't survive with brand advertisers alone because they don't get many of them. So watching our show on Rumble is the most they can ask from you. But if you really believe in the fight and if you have the means, one major way you can help Rumble survive is by joining Rumble Premium, which is the ad-free version of the Rumble platform that also now features exclusive content from select creators. So join the community that believes in the First Amendment and believes in our human right to free speech. Rumble is offering $10 off with the promo code STUDIO when you purchase an annual subscription. So go to rumble.com/premium and use promo code STUDIO. Like I said, if you have the means and believe in the cause, now's the time to join Rumble Premium. If you don't have the means, we're of course just happy if you watch us on the platform. Okay. All right. Perfect. We'll go to some more YouTube super chats here. Sage and Full, thanks for the $5. Going back to Greta, why is she the only too notorious kill person trying? Where's Bono, Jolie, DiCaprio? Where are the talkers that don't walk? Well, that's what Russell was saying.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. Iranian kiddo, Barack Hussein Obama's indefinite detention law don't differentiate between citizens and illegals. I believe it was Obama that also allowed ICE agents to dress in plain clothes. I think he implemented that where they didn't have to wear uniforms. Daria, thanks for the $2 Canadian. Those guys are kids in the hall. There you go. You got it. Race Car, thanks for the $20. Just had an ingenious idea. How to get high twice from the same puff. I better patent this idea ASAP. Well, congratulations, Race Car. Nice to see you got your own research lab going there. Professor Brown note, Tom Homan likes to play 1D rock, paper, scissors with rocks. Good one. That's a good one. Thank you. Shit's fucking crazy, dirtbags, says Hillary Hinton. I guess I picked the wrong weekend to quit using anal ketamine lozenges. Yes, indeed. Indeed. EO Shush. January 6th wasn't an insurrection, but let's say hypothetically it was an insurrection. These protests at Home Depot are a billion times worse than the January 6th insurrection that wasn't an insurrection. Thank you, EO Shush. Late stage empire turning our military on our own citizens. The police state is here. Indeed. My real name says Quack Quack. She's a hero for all duck-lipped Americans. That's right. Is this the new crystal knock for the 21st century? Find the marginalized population, demonize them, stick them in camps, and abuse them. Yep. Good point. Raid a Home Depot, whine about a brick to the face. I'd feel bad for ICE officers, but I have important laundry to do. Glad he agrees about the First Amendment. Now do the Fourth. Yes, good one. Los Angeles is run by liberals and not leftists or communist people. The left has zero power here. Thank you for that. Appreciate that. All right. Let's move right on along. Just got to tighten that up. Okay. Beautiful. All right, folks. This is a pretty quick one. Piers Morgan is on a bit of a roll, as we know. He made the, I won't say mistake, of name-dropping Douglas Murray, but he did name-drop Douglas Murray in his famous, now viral interview with Israeli lawyer Natasha Hasdorf. Here he is saying that he loves Douglas Murray, but Douglas Murray is a diehard Israel supporter who's only able to enter Gaza with an IDF escort.
I'm Douglas Murray. Was embedded with the IDF in Lebanon.
You said the words yourself. I love Douglas, but he was embedded with the IDF.
Right.
He's unbelievably pro-Israel.
Let me finish.
So of course he was going to write
No.
what he witnessed while embedded with the IDF.
No, let me finish what his experiences there were. The difference
I
is
read
that
it. You don't have to tell me.
There is something I think that you won't have heard.
Okay, well, that's all the time we have for you this evening. But Douglas apparently did not take kindly to being name dropped in that way. And so here's Douglas Murray on the Brendan O'Neill podcast calling out Piers Morgan. And, man, this guy's really not going to let that Rogan thing go with Dave Smith, or as he refers to him, Comic Dave Smith. He refers to everyone by their Twitter handle, apparently, Comic Dave Smith. Yes. I hope he doesn't debate Marshmallow 69, as she's called.
Piers Morgan a couple of days ago, talking to the international lawyer, a friend of mine, Natasha Hausdorff, and being exceptional.
I'm friends with all the worst people on earth. All the worst people in the world are my good friends.
Rude
If you
and
look
dismissive and
over
disparaging.
my right shoulder, that's an artifact I stole directly from an African tribe while they slept.
Over my left shoulder is the skull of a lamb of some kind. That's what it looks like. It looks like a lamb head. To the right of those books. Very creepy stuff.
And really unprofessional with her. Really unprofessional. Just shouting that she was talking bullshit and not allowing her to finish an answer.
She was talking
and
bullshit.
Just such
his best
ugly hatred that he was expressing towards what was just a different opinion from the one that he's found himself holding. And he turns to Comic Dave Smith and he says, these Israelis, so they're treating us like that we're just clowns, sort of thing. Again, your other guest is literally a clown. That's his job. His job is to be a clown. The fact that I don't think.
Okay. Once again, I mean, to hear him pontificate with his posh accent, you would think he has a PhD from Oxford. This guy has a fucking BA in English.
Yeah, he's an English major.
He's an English major. No background in history. Not even advanced studies in any subject.
No.
And he builds most of his arguments on denigrating other people's qualifications. I'm not saying because he has a BA in English, he's not qualified to speak, but he's certainly not qualified to question other people's qualifications, which is kind of his go-to.
Yeah, his whole thing is gatekeeping.
Right.
When really
He's
he's
never
just
said
a
anything funny.
Philistine with an undergraduate degree.
You've never been.
In English, which is your native tongue. It can't be that hard to get an undergraduate degree in your native tongue, could it?
To my knowledge. But it's like there in the name. Your job's to be a coin. You look a little bit at these people and you think, what do I have to pay attention to this? Where does it become serious enough that you have to pay attention?
Do we have to pay attention to you because you're an English major with an IDF escort? I mean, that's all you are.
Yeah,
that's all you are, and you're not printed in any major publication. The only publications that'll print you are like rags, like tabloids, like the Spectator and the New York Post. Yeah, like why should we have to listen to you?
And I think it becomes serious enough that you have to pay attention when this falls into a groove which is just highly recognizable, and if it falls into that groove and it actually has some impact. And it's quite hard in our current media and the social media landscape to work out what is impactful. So that, as I say, there's been a sort of flattening process whereby an international lawyer like Natasha Hausdorff, 20 years experience at the bar, is to be invited on as a guest with a comedian and not just as equals, but actually as her then worse off.
Yeah.
He's clearly very bitter about that debate on the Rogan thing. He clearly ate it.
Well, it hurt him.
Yeah.
It hurt him a lot because his audience overlaps so much with the Joe Rogan audience.
Right.
Being dismissed and made a fool of on that show and subsequently made fun of with the now infamous "Have you ever been?"
Right.
That fucks up his grift. Look, the whole woke thing is really a refuge for half-bright jerk-offs to pass themselves off as public intellectuals.
Right.
No serious intellectual forums would have them. But for the audience that is attracted to that, these people are able to pass themselves off as very, very well-informed in a way they would never be able to get away with people who actually had the education they pretend to have.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So Dave Smith responds, "This is just pathetic. Douglas can call me whatever names he wants to, but people see who the real clown is. The days of unimpressive lying chicken hawks lecturing the rest of us are over. And here's Piers Morgan. Says, I like Douglas Murray personally, but on the Israel-Hamas war, he's like his friend Natasha, just a hyper-partisan hack who will defend anything Israel's government does, however indefensible. As for comic Dave Smith, he's one of my favorite repeat guests. Smart, funny, and interesting. So, wow, look at that bridge burnt. Wow, just a hyper-partisan hack, because he even said in the video that he liked him. He said, I love Douglas, but on this, he's a hand for hire. To which Dave says, thank you, Piers. As you know, if we both supported what Israel is doing and wars in general, these two would have nothing but positive things to say about us. They can't defend the indefensible, so they make personal attacks. It's so weak. Yes, so now you have Piers Morgan coming out calling Douglas Murray a hack, which, once again, you're driving a wedge between even guys like Piers Morgan and these just evil clowns like Douglas Murray, Natasha Husdorf. Piers Morgan had to block even more Zionist handles. This is just really exposing them for the not just psychotically evil, but really fraudulent as like intellectuals, right? And the fraudulence of their arguments and the way that they argue, the way that they always just resort to extreme language about what a horrible person you are,
right,
what a clown you are, how unqualified you are to discuss this. Notice in none of these post-debate wine fests, yes, it's very woke, exactly. In none of these post-debate sort of wine fests that Murray has gone on has he actually wrestled with any of the arguments. It's all just attacking the source, attacking the credentials. Oh, he's a comedian, he's a clown, he's not qualified to talk about this with me, an English major with an IDF escort. That's all he really is. And so, yeah, good for Piers Morgan. Keep it up. Keep it up. He posted a picture of himself today with a cigar saying, enjoying a Monte Cristo in the glorious Sussex sunshine. I don't think there's any such thing as glorious Sussex sunshine.
Well, you also put out that picture holding a jar of Grey Poupon.
Yeah. Yeah, right, exactly. So good for him. Always good news to see that. Always good news to see Zionist influencers.
The redemption story of the year.
The redemption story of the year. He might be the redemption story of the year at this rate. He's got a way to go, but he's on his way. All right, Mark Dansky, please have Jay Ponte on as a guest. He wrote the book Be the Revolution and has codified peaceful, effective activism. Yeah, Jay Ponte, I think he's Facebook friends with me, actually. So I think I do have a contact. I didn't know he had a book out. I haven't been in touch with him in a long time, but thank you for that. Appreciate that. Professor Brown, note, Kristi Noem, Laura Loomer, and Nancy Mace for the mission to Mars. They will defy gravity, radiation, and sanity. Thank you. Appreciate that. Keaton is right. They get a sick thrill out of terrorizing brown people. Yep, seems to be that way. Guys, you really should stop referring to and using drop site. You know who is behind it. Yeah, so because Ryan Grimm and Jeremy Scahill are behind it, we should not use any of their reporting on anything, even though they have the exclusive on a lot. Because they happen to be pretty good at what they do in that respect. Yeah,
I don't play that game.
Yeah, we should just not learn about these issues because they report it. Yeah.
The only thing I want to hear is I dispute this fact or I can't dispute this fact. I have absolutely no interest in litigating sources.
Right.
There are so many sources that are good fonts of information that I don't agree with. I'll use Daily Caller if they have a good article. I don't like Daily Caller or the people behind it. It's irrelevant. If you're going to limit yourself to that, basically this show is going to be us looking out our window and telling you what we see.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Immigration in the United States, says Eric Rousseau, will only be through an arrest warrant. All others not welcome unless you're a white African. That's right. Get Up King says Bruce, Kevin, Dave, Mark were from a very ahead of its time Canadian sketch comedy called Kids in the Hall. That's right. China Shell says every ICE agent driving those vans should be thrown in prison. El Casador says, do you think the police state will be manned by people? These tech elites can't build their AI, robot, and drone army fast enough, and it's not for our safety, but their protection from the people. That's right. Jake, do you have the scroll for us, please? If you have that to throw up, that would be winning. So, folks, thank you. If you like what we do here, you could help us do more of it by becoming a member. You go to dudissidents.com/Patreon/Substack or/locals. The links are all at the top of that screen right there. Those links take you to our member platforms where you can sign up for as little as $5 a month or $50 annually, which saves you 2 months free if you sign up all at once. And you get all kinds of perks in exchange for your membership. You get your name up in lights here on the scroll. You also get post-game live streams once a month where we'll do an extended show for members only, complete with a call-in Q&A. We do film nights with call-in Q&As. We also do Q&As every Sunday night. Tonight is Sunday. Patrons, paid members, have call-in access to that Q&A, which will be on Rumble this evening following the conclusion of the program. You also get full ad-free replays of every live stream emailed to you the day after they air. So if you miss a show or you only catch part of it and you don't want to watch it back with the ad interruptions on YouTube and Rumble, for just $5 a month, you get every show emailed to you live, ad-free the day after they air. Those are the perks of membership. We could not do this show without our members, so thank you all very much for your support. What do we got here? Thomas Richardson, thanks for the $20. 2 cups of coffee each on me. That's right. 2 $5 coffees. Beautiful. Andy Gardner, thank you for the $10. Are the people waking up fast enough to overcome the total control? Boy, full-blown revolution truly is an optimistic outlook. I think you are seeing the government have to retreat in ways that they did not expect. I think the fact that Elon went so hard at Trump was a good sign. I think the fact that they're bringing Abrego Garcia back is a good sign. And so, yeah, I do think that things are happening slower than perhaps we'd like, but I think things are happening. That's what I'll say. The wheels are in motion, as Jerry would say. This is what American Justice looks like, Pam Bondi. Yeah, American Justice looks fat, ugly, and spray tan while it calls itself a 10 out of 10. Thank you, the Uppies. Appreciate that. Good one. Angel Garza says sending ICE to L.A. is like sending the KKK to Harlem. Yeah. Iranian Kiddo, I bet they accuse Garcia of killing JFK next. Ah, good one. Siddhartha Vicious, thanks for the $2. Garcia was my hookup for bootlegs Betamax tapes. Thank you, Siddhartha Vicious. Yes. And we proudly stand up, says Andy Gardner. Thank you, Andy. Appreciate that. David Santucci says, who is it that said they can get a grand jury to indict a ham sandwich? That's right. That's right. They could throw the book at you if they want. Did Greta and the crew just get kidnapped by Israel? Lots of video on X showing them getting stopped by 5 boats. Yes, there is a tweet on that.
I tried to share it. My computer is not liking it. I better stop fucking around. Like everything froze for a bit.
All right, I'll share the video.
As you were doing this, I had to go to Task Manager and everything.
Yeah, I'll share the video after this next segment. I'll find it, and we'll share it after this next piece. But yeah, the long and the short of it is they have been arrested and detained, and they are now in custody, which the bad news is, obviously, they did not get through to Gaza to provide the food aid. The good news is this is what they were expecting, more or less. So it's not worse than expected.
And that they didn't blow them out of the water, basically.
Right. Exactly. Yes.
But, like, dude, all day as I was working on this story, every time Keaton called me, I was ready for him to tell me that they killed them, honestly.
Yeah.
You know, which thank God did not happen, but I was ready for that news.
Yeah. It was a possibility. It was extremely brave. Okay. All right. Let's move on along here.
All right. Well, it is the breakup of the century. And AI is showing its potential. Hang on, is that playing?
No, it's just a black screen.
Okay, I was afraid of this. Yeah, so something happened when I tried to screen share. You're not seeing that, right?
No.
All right. This is going to take, I'm going to have to, like, I think reload everything.
All right. Well, why don't I do my Kash Patel piece first?
Do that. Yeah.
All right. All right. So, yeah. First, just reload something and see if it works.
Yeah. This is how the sausage is made, folks. All right. So I'll just load that one back in and see what happens.
Do you have it?
Yeah. All right. All right. Let's see. Yep.
All right.
Yeah.
Cool.
So basically, I have to reload all my videos.
All right. Very good. All right. We will do Kash Patel now. Actually, while we are paused, I wanted to do this anyway, so let's give you some extra time. We're going to hear from our friend John Koa. So here on Do Dissidents, we're all about building a vibrant community of engaged listeners who connect with authentic voices and independent thought. And speaking of authentic voices, we want to spotlight John Koa, a compelling solo artist who's not just a longtime listener, but a true part of this dissident community. John's 34-song collection, A to Z, is getting its finishing touches. This is a massive undertaking, and a release strategy for this many songs is currently being devised, so its arrival is imminent. This project is a unique blend of originals and powerful covers that John has honed over the years on stage in Los Angeles, Tokyo, and other cities, performing live, usually with 2 or 3 other musicians. He plays and mixes the album himself, creating a distinct retro-modern sound that's entirely his own. You'll hear compelling interpretations of tracks like Jackson Brown's Dr. My Eyes, Ben Harper's Excuse Me, Mister, and the Stones' Give Me Shelter, songs whose lyrics, it turns out, feel remarkably timely. While A to Z prepares for its launch, make sure you've caught John Koa's latest 2 studio singles on all your favorite streaming platforms. So he's on Apple and he's on Spotify, and you can also find him on YouTube at John Koa, JohnKoah. You can also find his website with all the links to all of his socials at dudissidents.com/Koa. So that's dudissidents.com/Koa. All righty. Perfect. Okay. Dedamod says, no, Keaton, the immigration plan is simple. Terrorized to the point of where even the legal ones self-deport. I think there's something to that, but I think their ultimate objective is obviously to get these jails built and to federalize the police force. Thank you for that. And by human trafficker, they mean Uber driver. Yeah, thank you, Louise Brooks. Appreciate that very much. El Cazador, the last year's December drone flap was a surveillance proof of concept. RoboCop was not a movie, but a preview of the human race's future. Thank you, El Cazador. Appreciate that very much. We got Rubber Toe. Regarding Abrego Garcia, the axiom a prosecutor can get a grand jury to indict a ham sandwich likely applies, and this case against him was forensically fabricated using notorious jailhouse snitches. Could be. Coincidentally, Kinder Nazi's featured story with Air Doctor Strangelove. Thank you for that. Free Shit says, so much resources, so little vision for direction. When does friendly fire become cannibalism? What would Jeffrey Dahmer do? Thank you. Free Shit. Appreciate that very much. Okay. All right. We will make this happen.
I'm close.
All right. I'll take a few more chats and then we'll just go in order. So now Russell's a legal expert claiming prosecutors just magically turn over discovery evidence without a request from the defense. Even I know that's bullshit. Eric Rousseau. I'm waiting for Douglas Murray to start singing Girlfriend in a comma, Smith's reference. Thank you for that, girlfriend. Thank you for that, Eric Rousseau. Keep doing Douglas Murray segments. They are hilarious. When do you do your new show opening? Please include the You've Never Been line. Yeah, we probably will have to do that. Was that Morrissey singing his new hit, Have You Ever Been? Yes, thank you, Eric Rousseau. Appreciate that. Okay, we got over here Iranian Kiddo. Patel, Ravadem Patel, how am I going to make a living on them deadbeats? Favorite Pacino line from Glengarry Glenn Ross. Thank you. Michael Riches, thanks for the donation. I'd love to see Douglas Murray debate Finkelstein. You've never been there. Oh, you have. That's right. He has. Mr. Fancy Pants says the irony is that in the case of Palestine, the experts actually agree with Dave. All right. You're ready. Go ahead.
All right. The daddies are fighting, and the AI is proving its worth.
Will remember you. Will you remember me? Don't let break
breaking news. The Epstein files are set to be released this week.
Pretty good stuff. But real life's probably even better. So this is how it started, kind of. Elon tripping balls in the Oval Office.
I don't think Harvard's been acting very nicely.
Whacked out of his mind on K, according to rumors. I never noticed that he's wearing the Doge Father shirt there. Apparently, there's an article that's pretty funny. Maybe I'll do it during the week. The Doge workers are now worried about being fired. Given the rift. Little sweet justice.
Yes.
So no sooner did he leave the Oval Office tripping his face off than he gave an interview with CBS, starting to express his displeasure with the big, beautiful bill.
So, I was disappointed to see the massive spending bill, frankly, which increases the budget deficit, not just decrease it, and undermines the work that the Doge team is doing.
I actually thought that when this big, beautiful bill came along. I mean, everything he's done on Doge gets wiped out in the first year.
I think a bill can be big or it can be beautiful, but I don't know if it can be both. My personal opinion.
So, he seemed reasonably sane there. The shiner starting to clear up already. Looking healthy. Maybe that's makeup. Which he did not wear in the White House. But then he goes on, after several kind of passive-aggressive tweets showing Trump's tweets about balanced budgets in 2012 and 2013, he went on this whole 1 hour tweet storm that kind of culminated with this. Call your senator, call your congressman. Bankrupting America is not okay. Kill the bill. And here, wise words to Donald Trump 2013. I cannot believe the Republicans are extending the debt ceiling. I am a Republican and I am embarrassed. 2012, no member of Congress should be eligible for re-election if our country's budget is not balanced. Deficits not allowed. Elon, I couldn't agree more. So finally, Donald, after about a week of this escalating on Elon's part, finally did a little Oval Office takedown, which Elon responded to in real time, as we'll see.
You've done a great job. Elon knew that. Elon endorsed me very strongly. He actually went up in campaign for me. I think I would have won. Susie would say I would have won Pennsylvania easily anyway, even if the governor ran, the real governor, not the governor from Minnesota, he's a sick puppy, that guy. That poor guy, I feel sorry for him. But they made a bad choice with him. But if you pick Shapiro or anybody else, I spoke to him recently about his house being set on fire, which was terrible. But if they picked him, I would have won Pennsylvania. I won it by a lot.
Okay, so this is really like a jilted girlfriend watching their boyfriend, the president, and rage tweeting about it as he speaks. So, Elon, without me, Trump would have lost the election. Dems would control the House and the Republicans would be 51-49 in the Senate. Such ingratitude.
Very disappointed because Elon knew the inner workings of this bill better than almost anybody sitting here, better than you people. He knew everything about it. He had no problem with it. All of a sudden he had a problem.
False. This bill was never shown to me even once and was passed in the dead of night so fast that almost no one in Congress could even read it.
The problem when he found out that we're going to have to cut the EV mandate because that's billions and billions of dollars, and it really is unfair. We want to have cars of all types. Electric, we want to have electric, but we want to have a gasoline, combustion. We want to have different. We want to have hybrids. We want to have we want to be able to sell everything. And when that was cut, and Congress wanted to cut it, he became a little bit different, and I can understand that. But he knew every aspect of this bill. He knew it better than almost anybody.
Okay, to that he says, whatever. Whatever. Keep the EV solar incentive cuts in the bill, even though no oil and gas subsidies are touched. Very unfair. but ditch the mountain of disgusting pork in the bill. In the entire history of civilization, there's never been legislation that was both big and beautiful. Everybody knows this. Either you get a big and ugly bill or a slim and beautiful bill. Slim and beautiful is the way.
And he never had a problem until right after he left. And if you saw the statements he made about me, which I'm sure you can get very easily, it's very fresh on tape. He said the most beautiful things about me. And he hasn't said bad about me personally, but I'm sure that'll be next. But I'm very disappointed in Elon. I've helped Elon a lot.
Mr. President, did he? I just want to clarify. Did he raise any of these concerns with you privately before he raised them publicly? And this is the guy you put in charge of cutting spending. Should people not take him seriously about spending now? Are you saying this is all sour grapes?
No, he worked hard and he did a good job. And I'll be honest, I think he misses the place. I think he got out there and all of a sudden he wasn't in this beautiful Oval Office, and he's got nice offices too. But there's something about this one. I was telling the Chancellor, this is where it is. People come in here, even from Germany. They come in and they walk into the Oval Office, and it's just a special place. It's, World War I, it started and it ended here, and World War II, and so many other things. Everything big comes right from this beautiful space. It's now much more beautiful than it was 6 months ago. A lot of good things are happening in this room. And I'll tell you, he's not the first. People leave my administration and they love us. And then at some point they miss it so badly. And some of them embrace it and some of them actually become hostile. I don't know what it is. It's sort of Trump derangement syndrome, I guess they call it. But we have it with others too. They leave and they wake up in the morning and the glamour's gone, the whole world is different, and they become hostile. I don't know what it is. Someday you'll write a book about it and you'll let us know. Yeah.
Mr. President, speaking of ending wars.
Yeah, that really got under his skin, I'm sure. But he wasn't done.
He wanted, and rightfully, he recommended somebody from that he knew very well. I'm sure he respected him, but to run NASA, and I didn't think it was appropriate. And he happened to be a Democrat, like totally Democrat. And I say, look, we won. We get certain privileges, and one of the privileges we don't have to appoint a Democrat. NASA is very important. We have great people. General Kane is going to be
not like Bobby. He used to be a Democrat, but we made him eat a cheeseburger.
Yeah, right.
This is the kind of Democrat you can't get him to eat McDonald's with the guys. We don't want that kind of Democrat.
Picking somebody with our, we'll be checking him out, and seeing. But he wanted that person, a certain person, and we said no. And I can understand why he's upset. Remember, he was here for a long time. You saw a man who was very happy when he stood behind the Oval desk.
Okay, so Elon wouldn't let that pass. This is what he said about Jared. So, he retweets, Donald Trump's boilerplate that I'm sure he did not write a single character of this. I am delighted to nominate Jared. Yeah, he wrote that. Yeah, right. Then he goes on. Shibatoshi Nakamoto tweets out, "Can I finally say that Trump's tariffs are super stupid?" And Elon Musk quote tweets it, "The Trump tariffs will cause a recession in the second half of this year." So Trump starts to respond. Elon was wearing thin. I asked him to leave. I took away his EV mandate that forced everyone to buy electric cars that nobody else wanted, that he knew for months I was going to do. And he just went crazy. Elon, such an obvious lie. So sad. There's no way that they did not like having me around peeing my pants and snorting K in the bathroom. There's no way they wanted to be rid of me. The easiest way to say, this is Trump again, the easiest way to save money in our budget, billions and billions of dollars, is to terminate Elon's governmental subsidies and contracts. I was always surprised that Biden didn't do it. That's true, actually. And this is where Elon went to the place from whence there is no return. Time to drop the really big bomb. Donald Trump is in the Epstein files. That is the real reason they have not been made public. Have a nice day, DJT. Mark this post for the future. The truth will come out. And then he responded to the threat to his government contracts. In light of the president's statement about cancellation of my government contracts, SpaceX will begin decommissioning its Dragon spacecraft immediately. So Trump then not directly responds, but continues. I don't mind Elon turning against me, but he should have done so months ago. This is one of the greatest bills ever presented to Congress. It's a record cut in expenses, $1.6 trillion, and the biggest tax cut ever given. It's primarily going to benefit the upper 20% of economic earners, and that's great for America. Don't you agree, peasants? If this bill doesn't pass, there will be a 68% tax increase on my class, and things far worse than that. I didn't create this mess. I'm just here to fix it. This puts our country on a path of greatness. Make America great again, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So Elon, for a few more hours, just keeps retweeting Epstein accusations, retweets the infamous footage of Trump partying with Jeffrey Epstein, and then he just would not let up. Ian Miles Chung puts out President versus Elon. Who wins? My money's on Elon. Personally, my money's on the guy who's not on K.
Yeah, my money's on the president. My money's on the cult leader. Yeah, don't bet against the cult leader unless you make a lot of money on Elon's platform. So you don't make a lot of money on Truth Social. You make money on X.
That's it. Trump should be impeached, and J.D. Vance should replace him. Elon retweets yes, which we've been watching Donald Trump logic for about a decade now. That's probably about as bad a rupture-causing tweet as the Epstein tweet, to affirm that Trump should be impeached and replaced by J.D. Vance. The way Trump thinks, this might actually be worse.
Yeah.
Because the Epstein thing he's probably dismissing as a drug frenzy.
Right.
But that hits at the heart of Trump world. So Elon, then, he wasn't done. He puts up an X poll. Is it time to create a new political party in America that actually represents the 80% in the middle? Nicole Shanahan, who is like Exhibit A of why the communists have a point. Why does she have money?
Right.
You ever think about that? If you're somebody, and I know a lot of our audience, I'm preaching to the choir here, but some of them were not. Capitalism works so well. Why does it allocate capital to Nicole Shanahan? Can you explain that? Like what she's contributing to society, that she deserves to be in a position where she has influence on political races by virtue of her wealth. Like, isn't that a flaw in the system, that she's not asking you if you want fries with that?
Well, she should be selling lavender and eucalyptus body wash at best.
Right.
At best. A brand ambassador for lavender eucalyptus body wash.
She should be selling it out of a trunk behind a Bed Bath & Beyond. But she weighs in. Yes, I'm so sick and tired of the bait and switch BS. I don't remember asking you a goddamn thing.
Yeah.
America is not a piggy bank that you can keep smashing open and expect it to function. Well, how about your bank account? Is your bank account a piggy bank that we can smash open? And
what's her problem? I thought she's not happy with
she's not happy
with Bobby Kennedy.
I guess she's not happy. She didn't get
not
she
enough
get
measles going
not
around
enough
for her
measles.
liking. Yeah.
It's not enough measles. Until everybody gets measles, none of us are
They'd
free.
not be happy until there's 100 million measles cases in America.
So apparently 80% on his own platform said it's time for it. I mean, look, everybody wants a third party.
Yeah.
But, certainly like Michael Tracy, I didn't throw that into the slideshow, but he weighed in. Okay, so is the platform of this party going to be getting rid of entitlements? Because, that's probably not going to work. The people have spoken. A new political party is needed in America to represent the 80% in the middle. And exactly 80% of people agree. This is fate. Yeah, no, and for that matter, why does Elon have all this money?
Right.
Does this guy really seem like somebody who deserves to be the world's richest man? I look at all this. Look at all this. Does this seem like people who should be in charge of the world's most powerful nation, or does this seem like a particularly bizarre and farcical version of a collapse of empire?
Yes.
Kind of cycle. America Party has a nice ring to it. The party that actually represents
that's brilliant.
America. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. This guy should have $500 billion or whatever the fuck he has. But hey, all this talk about starting a third party has got the party hacks nervous. So some of them have been speaking about trying to bring these two crazy kids back together.
22. I feel like the kids of a bitter divorce where you're just saying, I really wish mommy and daddy would stop screaming.
Look, I believe in redemption. I hope we can resolve it and get everybody together again. That's really important for all of us.
Democratic leaders, though, back Musk in trying to kill Trump's massive tax bill.
That Elon Musk has made the point that the bill is a disgusting abomination.
The Republican House Speaker warning today that if Trump's big, beautiful bill does not pass,
then we're not going to have the House majority. And if we lose the House majority, and everything will go to chaos.
Yeah, I think it's kind of the opposite. If they pass this bill, they're not going to have the House majority once people's grandmas start dying because they can't get any health care. So Elon, he seemed to start to try to climb down off the ledge. He retweeted this. Elon's stance is principled. Trump's stance is practical. Tech needs Republicans for the present. Republicans need tech for the future. Drop the tax cuts, cut some pork, get the bill through. Now, the drop the tax cut part, my theory from the beginning when he gave that CBS interview is he sees Tesla going up in flames, literally, in some cases. And he's trying to get the libs back. And you think that can't work? Bill Maher just did a whole monologue about how Elon is gettable and Joe Rogan is gettable, and they got to, try to bring them back into the fold. And he's not the only one. So this is, I think, part of what he's trying to do. On the Epstein front, David Schoen, one of Jeffrey Epstein's final lawyers, said this: I was hired to lead Jeffrey Epstein's defense as his criminal lawyer 9 days before he died. He sought my advice for months before that. I can say authoritatively, unequivocally, and definitively that he had no information to hurt President Trump. I specifically asked him, and if there's one thing everyone knew about Jeffrey, it's that he was impeccably honest.
Yeah.
Roger Stone tweets out, Donald Trump is not in the Epstein files. Here are the facts. And Schoen quote tweets that. I can tell you unequivocally, as someone who would know, that President Trump never did anything wrong with Jeffrey Epstein. Well, we'll take that for what it's worth. The last comment, at least at time of putting this together, from Elon was most entertaining outcome is most likely. I'd say 50-50 bet he was high on K when he tweeted that. So Trump was answered a few questions about this on his plane.
Way to save money would be to cancel some of Musk's contracts. How seriously are you considering that?
Well, we'll take a look at everything. I look at everything. He's got a lot of money. He gets a lot of subsidy. So we'll take a look at that.
Did you have any concerns about his drug use when he was working for you?
I don't want to comment on his drug use. I don't know. I don't know what his status is. I read an article in the New York Times. I thought it was, frankly, it sounded very unfair to me.
What are you going to do about the Tesla? Are you going to keep it, or are you going to?
I haven't thought about it.
Do you have any plans
I
to
don't
contact?
I don't want it. I never wanted
to
it.
speak with Mr. Musk? This was one of your closest advisors for months.
I don't even know how to drive that car.
I thought it was a stupid car.
A lot of reporters have been calling me. I didn't call any reporter. A lot of reporters, they asked me the same question. No, I don't. I'm not even thinking about that.
There apparently were these efforts. This is what I read,
to bring you and Elon back together. So those efforts where are they?
No, there are efforts. I mean, I've been asked about it, but I'm not really interested in that.
I'm not interested. It's over. It's like once you turn me off, it's done. Like my body just won't react. Just won't react. I just, So Kristen Welker got a couple of scoops this weekend in a direct interview, phone interview with Donald Trump. And in it, Trump says Elon Musk will face very serious consequences if he funds Democratic candidates. So let's take a look.
Takeaway from his comments on Musk: when I asked if their relationship is over, Mr. Trump said, "I would assume so." He also told me he has no desire to repair ties with Musk. And he said he's more confident than ever that the big, beautiful bill can pass because he thinks Republicans are now more unified because of how Musk treated him. The president also told me that Musk would face very serious consequences if he funded Democratic candidates in the next election. When I asked the president what those would be, he wouldn't say.
Would not say. So Ken Klippenstein tweeted out, "Enjoy this moment, everyone. Sooner or later, Hillary's going to post about it and it'll stop being funny." Then Chuck Schumer tweeted, "Siri, play Bad Blood." Schumer beat her to it. This was pretty funny from Babylon B. Trump torches Tesla dealership. And Kat Tim, thankfully, we don't have more women in positions of power. Things might get too dramatic. Hear, hear. So yeah, probably one of the funniest, most bizarre stories to come out of this administration. But this is a story that at least as much, if not more, than the return of Abrego Garcia to face due process. This gives me hope for the future because we have speculated that this administration is so full of narcissistic weirdos, crackpots, and criminals that they would not be able to hold together a coalition long enough to really execute their agenda. And this is pretty strong evidence for that. What are we, 4 months in? And Trump's main donor and ally just goes completely berserk. I'm not saying there are no reasons to feel this way about Trump, but not for Elon. Like right. It at this point, I would say the drug room. I mean, you can see it in that Oval Office send off. Clearly, he's whacked out of his mind. I think this is partly being fueled by drug use. I think Elon's always been overrated, and lucky in the opportunities that came his way, right down to being born the heir to an emerald mine, right? But yeah, he's clearly having some kind of a mental breakdown. And there was if his logic, as I've speculated it is that to win back the libs, he has to start a war with Trump. Well, the other side of that is now you're going to lose all your defense contracts and the libs probably won't come back anyway. You piss them off too much. You put too much tarnish on your brand. You're never going to really be able to recover that market. And now, whatever chance you had of getting conservatives, and admittedly, it was never a good one to convert them over to wanting to buy electric cars, that's gone too. So it just doesn't even make any sense from a business perspective. Like Elon has often been misinterpreted as an engineer. You could say he's been a good entrepreneur in a very corrupt system. He's been very good at exploiting grants and tax loopholes and subsidies, ironically, given Doge. It seems like his greatest gift has been to pump up his stock with outlandish claims that don't come to fruition and to deliver just enough to give some kind of plausibility to those claims. He's been claiming he's going to have full self-driving since 2016. It was claiming, I think by 2019, the cars would be able to drive cross-country without a driver. Now he's claiming that he has the best robotaxi, and there's absolutely no evidence for that. But it saved his stock. Like, that's really been his talent. He's a P.T. Barnum. He's a very good barker. And here and there, a product will work out. And then he's good at marketing his own genius as underlying this breakthrough, ignoring all the failures, the missed promises, deceiving stockholders, all of the various investigations from people dying from trying to use his full self-driving technology to stock manipulation. All of that he's been able to obscure at a moment like this. At a moment like this, when his entire business is on very shaky ground, to do this, yeah, that guy's a cokehead or crackhead or whatever the hell he is. He's whacked out on ketamine, and it's not rational. It doesn't even make sense on its own terms.
Yeah, and I think you're right. I think this does give me hope. This is hopeful. It's hopeful that there's division in the ranks. It's also hopeful that he went so scorched earth on the president. Like, to see someone stand up to the president in that way, to accuse him of being in the Epstein files, that's kind of refreshing, given, just how draconian this administration has been on speech and how viciously they've gone after their critics. To have him throw that ultimate grenade in the pool, is encouraging. It's encouraging to see him pick a fight with him in that way. And yeah, I predicted they would have this falling out. I said Doge is going to essentially disband within the year. Now it goes on without him. I think they'll fire everybody. I mean, I think it's pretty much done. Much done.
They're going to have to fire everybody. Anyone who's connected to him is going to be toxic now.
Exactly.
Like, all of that is over. Trump may not be wrong in terms of this actually in the end helping the bill, because Elon took this to a level where he's forcing a loyalty choice on them.
That's possible. That is possible. I mean, he's a voice out of the way at this point now too. Right. He's not there. You no longer have to negotiate his presence, right? That bridge is burnt. Right. So it's no longer like, hey, his support's available if we change the bill. No, it's not available now at this point, no matter what.
Will they even be able to take his money?
Yeah.
Like, he wants to give money to Congress people. Do you have a problem with Trump now?
Right.
Like he just, yeah, it's pretty amazing.
Yep. All right. You got some more?
Yeah.
All right.
Go to the B?
Yeah. Just go right in.
All right. So Steve Bannon has been all over this. As soon as this broke, this was, I believe, the same day that Elon dropped the Epstein accusations. Bannon advocated for Trump to seize SpaceX.
President Trump tonight should sign an executive order calling for the Defense Production Act to be called in SpaceX and seize SpaceX tonight before midnight. The U.S. government should seize it. If a guy's going to sit there and start making quotes, also, as Stuart Stevens talked back in January, I don't know why we haven't had a full investigation. Look, if you're going to deport illegal aliens, you got to deport illegal aliens. The good go with the good, the goose and the gander. They got to go back to this, as Stuart Stevens talked about, and go through everything about his immigration status. I happen to believe, given the facts that I've been shown, that he's an illegal alien. An illegal alien has got to be deported. Also, his drug use is reported in the New York Times. The drug use in the New York Times. If that's a fact, that ought to be investigated. You can't have a security clearance, Jack Posobiec, as you know.
He's an illegal alien
Jack,
drug addict.
If somebody in your unit had that type of drug, drugs, and they had a security clearance.
We had to send ICE. We were just in time. He was trying to put a chip in a poor guy's brain there when we arrested him. He's performing illegal medical experiments on immigrants. We're actually saving the immigrants by arresting Elon.
What would happen to them, sir?
Well, Steve, we remember that Hunter Biden popped positive, I believe, for cocaine on his very first weekend in the Navy Reserve. And even at that time, I don't remember if his father, I think his father was still the vice president at the time. He wasn't president yet, or audio-pen president yet. And Hunter Biden was summarily separated from the United States Navy over his very first weekend as drilling as a Navy reservist over popping positive.
Also, it should take his security clearance away, and all contracts should be suspended pending that investigation. Also, as I said on the Tim Pool show in Matt Gaetz's office, I think over a year ago, right? That was over a year ago, where I said, hey, he's an agent of influence of the Chinese Communist Party because of his financial relationship in Tesla. That should be fully investigated. President Trump is a bull. Elon Musk is a baby calf.
No loyalty among this crowd.
And now it's time for the good of the country, the republic. Forget MAGA and the Republican Party. This is a national security issue now. It's raised to the level of national security issue of a very unstable individual that's out saying very, I think, dangerous things about the President of the United States. And he has to be investigated, should be investigated immediately. And all contracts associated, all government contracts should be immediately suspended.
Okay, so that gives you a little window into what I'm sure he's not the only one saying that behind the scenes, and that's a preview to some of what they could do to really screw Elon. That's why I say any way you look at this, and the only logic you could put into this play is he did it to win the libs back, but it just doesn't even make sense on that level. That's why I say I blame a lot of this on the drug reports. The Washington Post did a pretty good report on some of what's been going on behind the scenes. Trump called Musk a big-time drug addict in a phone call shortly after their public feud. I will say this. If you look at in the last segment, the Trump plane interview, even now he's being unusually restrained. And I'm not going to jump right to, well, it's because Elon's telling the truth about the Epstein files. I mean, he already made the accusation. What does he have to lose now? But for whatever reason, is it the calm before the storm? Is he going to come down on him like a ton of bricks? It's hard to say, but he's being uncharacteristically restrained, shall we say, at least in public. President Donald Trump was dejected, processing his very public split with the world's richest man. Rattled in the wake of Elon Musk's public attacks and apparent call for his impeachment, Trump worked the phones, debriefing close confidants and casual acquaintances alike. His former ally was, quote, a big-time drug addict, Trump said at one point as he tried to make sense of Musk's behavior, according to a person with knowledge of the call, who, like others interviewed for this article, spoke on the condition of anonymity to discuss sensitive matters. The president, who historically hasn't hesitated to fire off deeply personal, blistering social media posts about others who have insulted him, was more muted regarding Musk than friends and advisors expected. In the aftermath of his Thursday face-off with Musk, he urged those around him not to pour gasoline on the fire, according to two people with knowledge of his behavior. He told Vice President J.D. Vance to be cautious in how he spoke publicly about the Musk situation. In mid-April, Musk and Steve Bissent had gone into the Oval Office to make their respective cases about their preferences for acting IRS commissioner. Trump decided to support Bissent's choice.
Scott Bissent. They must have fucked that up.
I fucked it up, actually.
Oh, you added that? Yeah, Scott.
Yeah, because my mind was on Bannon, because I had to put that in. Trump decided to support Bissent's choice. Yep, that's Steve. Scott. That disagreement was first reported by the New York Times. After Bissent and Musk exited the Oval Office and began walking down the hallway, the two men started to exchange insults. Steve Bannon said he was told, adding that Bissent brought up Musk's claims that he would uncover more than $1 trillion in wasteful and fraudulent government spending, which Musk had not succeeded at doing. Scott said, "You're a fraud. You're a total fraud," Bannon said in an interview. Musk then rammed his shoulder into Bissent's ribcage like a rugby player, Bannon said, and Bissent hit him back. multiple people stepped in to break up the scrum as the two men reached the National Security Advisor's office and Musk was shuffled out of the West Wing. Quote, President Trump heard about it and said, "This is too much," Bannon said. Trump on Friday insisted that he had no interest in speaking with Musk, telling CNN and ABC reporters as much in phone calls and also sharing the sentiment with advisors, according to a White House official. He told aides he was considering selling the red Tesla that has been parked outside the White House, a vehicle the White House said he bought at market rate in March. It's funny that they would throw that in. He didn't even give me a discount, the son of a bitch, after everything I did for him. He makes me pay wholesale. After Musk displayed several of his vehicles on the White House lawn. There's hope that there's going to be a reconciliation, said one White House ally close to both Trump and Musk worlds, but it'll never be the same. Oh, that's sad. So this is Steve Bannon recounting that described rather remarkable altercation.
But there is a process. You just can't come in and get everything you want and do it entirely your way with not thinking about people at all. And what Elon did, and I think the president tried to make sure that he had every opportunity. We all want to cut federal spending. His promise and commitment to the president of cutting $1 trillion in federal spending was something he stuck to the end until we found out it was all a fraud. I mean, this is what caused the physical altercation you had in the West Wing right outside the Oval Office between the Secretary of Treasury, Scott Bessent, who's a good friend of mine and a very even-handed guy. He and Elon got into a physical altercation. And that's because, number one.
I'm just going to very quickly point out how full of shit everyone in this ecosystem is. From Alex Jones going, no, Palantir is so small you could drown it in a bathtub. It's really not don't look at Palantir. I'm really dependent on those guys to not wind up in prison. And then you got, look, Scott Bessent was George Soros's golden boy who helped crash the British pound. Look at Steve Bannon, Mr. Nationalist MAGA guy. He's my good friend. I thought they all hate George Soros. They all hate George Soros. This guy is really George Soros's creation. So why are you good friends with him if you feel so strongly about that? These people are all full of shit. It's all a grift. But to continue.
One, people felt that day that Elon might have been on drugs. And number two, Scott called him a fraud to his face and said, look, we're in the middle of a terrible budget fight. You committed to a $2 trillion, then you committed to $1 trillion. Now you're talking about $160 billion. We don't see where you got anything. And obviously that got under Elon's skin. So I think the president went out of his way to basically give him every opportunity to perform, and it turned out just to be a fiasco. And he turned on the president viciously, and he turned on the president personally.
On the Scott Bessent point, you say that the black eye that Elon had in the Oval Office was actually caused by Bessent punching him? Is that the information you have?
No. That happened. The Scott Bessent physical altercation happened weeks before. That was one of the controversies about the IRS. But this is one of the reasons I think the president said, hey, I think the China briefing where you try to get a top secret briefing on the China war plan, given the fact that he's in business with the CCP. And many people think that he might be an agent of influence of the CCP since he's always promoting the Chinese Communist Party's party line. The Bessent thing happened a couple weeks after that. But look, the black eye, the president said yesterday, he offered the guy some makeup before they had that final little ceremony, and he turned it down. And the president, brought it up a couple of times. It was odd. I have no idea where it came from. I will tell you, I think it looks like the receiving end of a left hook. I'm not sure his little boy, 3-year-old boy, was able to deliver that, but then I'm sure that will come up in one of the drug investigations.
You're not claiming it as a personal victory, but at least it looks like a victory for one kind of understanding of MAGA. The more big government, the more worker.
All right, so this was a great tweet. Elon Musk was beaten up by a 62-year-old Southern gay guy who lives in this.
Yes.
Well deserved. Good thing he never went ahead with that Zuckerberg fight, huh?
Oh my God! Yeah,
They was talking about how it can't even take Scott Bassett. But if you look at this story, this is an administration of crackpots, fools, weirdos, criminals, addicts, and idiots, and that is our greatest hope as a nation. That they just are not going to be able to sustain whatever the hell it is they're trying to do. Now, our worst outcome as a nation is that in spite of all this, they do manage to pull off what they're trying to do. And we have to live with the consequences and spend generations trying to clean up the mess if we are given that time and it doesn't just precipitate and usher in the apocalypse.
Yeah, exactly. But what a ship of fools. What a ship of fools. That's insane. He elbows him in the ribs. Elbowing this gay guy in the ribs is square. Yeah, that's what it comes down to. All that money, right? Hot Hamburg Sandwich says, hey, just for the record, it's not possible to indict a ham sandwich unless the ham sandwich becomes a corporation. Haha, good one. Ethan Darcy says the Madeleine was captured by the IDF. Yes, we did see that. Yeah. Thank you, Ethan. The Yuppies. Russ, I love your Valley Girl voice for Elon. Thank you, Yuppies. Trump says, bye, Felicia. Elon, bye, Felicia. Thank you for that. Dedamod says, typical Douglas Murray BS. Natasha's 35 years old. 20 years of experience makes her, 15 as an international lawyer. Not good with numbers, is he? Thank you, Dedamod. Goo81, British bill passed that was mentioned by Corbyn in first reading to have a public inquiry into British government role in the genocide. Thank you for that. Get Up King, will Douglas Murray ever flick his bean in public again? Thank you. Also, the Jewish National Fund charity status in Canada has been officially canceled by Canadian government. Now Canada has to halt using Canadian pension plan investment in settlements. So that's a good one. Okay. On a lighter note, my ex texted me after 7 years wanting to get back. Advice? Well, that depends. What do you feel? I don't know. It's up to you, man. It's your call.
Whatever broke you up the first time will usually be what breaks you up the second time, or the third, or the fourth, or the fifth.
May Jess, thanks for the $20. Just now on Twitter, Stephen Miller, we will take America back. Elon Musk, just like I took your wife. This is real. Yes, I saw that. Yeah,
is that real?
Yeah. Yeah. Going back and forth with Stephen Miller now. Yeah, indeed. Elon, wow, I don't know that name. You're telling me this name now for the first time. Yes, thank you, Articus Rex. Appreciate that very much. All right, folks, we will move right on along. All right, this is a quick one. But, when Trump and Elon had their falling out, we had a feeling it was obviously going to drive a wedge through the Twitter space, the Twitterverse. There are a lot of people who make a lot of money sucking at that teat of Elon Musk and MAGA. So when Elon dropped this, time to drop the really big bomb. Real Donald Trump is in the Epstein files. That is the real reason they have not been made public. Have a nice day, DJT. You had Alex Jones tweet out timeline pin drop. Yes, we know Alex Jones loves him some Donald Trump, but Alex Jones also loves him some Elon Musk. Not coincidentally, because Elon Musk gave him back his Twitter account, which he now generates quite a lot of revenue from. In the past, he had been accused of standing too hard for Elon Musk, and he responded to it in very calm and measured fashion, as he is known to.
Oh, and he's exposing Jeffrey. What the hell? And he's exposing Jeffrey Epstein and the CIA. Hell, last week he put out tweets about the CIA at war with America. God almighty. Jones sold out retweeting that. God, I apologize to all of you. I'm sorry. I sold out. I tried to stop the pedophile rings, the giant Muslim kidnapping rings. I'm sorry. I kissed Elon Musk's ass. We're so close to getting the globalists. I want their throats. I want victory. And now you can see it. And you guys think you're going to harass Elon Musk and push him off of supporting Trump and divide Trump and Elon? You're not.
Well, apparently they are. Apparently they will. And they did. So as the hours went on, with no response from Trump as to the Epstein list allegation, Alex Jones says Trump needs to respond ASAP. I noticed he did not take questions at his public meeting today. Yes, Trump blew off a question about Elon's tweet that day, much to the panic of Alex Jones. So you know who didn't like this is Catturd. Catturd says, what a POS Alex Jones turned out to be. What a fucking fraud. He's literally implying here that Trump is a pedo. He's been silent all day while Trump has been viciously attacked with lies. I used to respect Alex Jones, but now he's just a piece of shit fraud. What a fucking sellout. See, they fight on the right, too. It's not just the left.
I'm really sorry we burned that audience base so badly.
Yeah,
because that's a really stable foundation to build your house on.
Yeah, exactly. You are just virtue signaling, says Alex Jones. I have said in the last 5 videos today that I don't believe Trump is connected to Epstein crimes. The sooner he comes out and responds to the allegation, the better. I had Roger Stone on within 2 hours of the allegations breaking, debunking it. Grow up. You should have said, grow up, Catturd. Grow up. This is beneath you, Catturd. It's very immature of you, Catturd. Watching Catturd and Alex Jones go at it is entertainment I would happily pay for. Insane that we get to watch it happen live for free. Yes. Fuck him for not coming out on Trump's side and taking Elon's side. And Alex Jones responds to that, I am not in your cult. See, they're really
I am not in your cult.
Yeah. Really, hands are tied. So Catturd then follows up, breaking, Elon Musk has unsubscribed and unfollowed me. Alex Jones says he's not in my Trump cult. Many large influencer accounts desperately tried to stay neutral today. I've never changed in years. If you want to criticize Trump's bill, non-problem. You don't like Trump's policies? No problem. I'm okay with that. If you don't like Trump's tariffs, I'll listen to your side. But when you come out and call Trump a pedo, that's when you've crossed a red line. Don't care about anything you have to say after that.
I don't know about Epstein, but he's been pretty credibly accused by a young woman who filed her case, 4 times? And
I believe so, yeah.
Every time she backed out, saying her life and the life of her family was threatened.
Right. Alex Jones responds, you are publicly telling verified lies. I never called Trump a pedo. I think you have had a mental breakdown. Haven't you all? Those past 10 hours or so. It's okay, I forgive you, but your mind is like a dirty cat box. So then, yes, Epstein's defense lawyer. I was hired to leave Jeffrey Epstein's defenses as his criminal lawyer 9 days before he died. He sought my advice for months before that. I could say authoritatively, unequivocally, and definitively that he had no information to hurt President Trump. I specifically asked him. So then Alex quote tweets this and says, I've investigated Trump for 10 years looking for any connections to Epstein crimes and found zero evidence. Oh, yeah, that's what you've been doing. You've been investigating him for 10 years, right? You haven't been cheerleading. You've been investigating. That's right. And so I guess Catturd's heart grew 3 sizes that afternoon. FYI, I've been a fan of Alex Jones as long as I can remember. Tensions were high yesterday, and when I read this tweet I lashed out on, I was thinking it was him saying Trump was guilty because he hadn't responded yet. I listened to Alex later explain that he was just trying to urge Trump to get in front of it. And as this tweet says, he doesn't believe Trump has any connection to Epstein's. Then it was me personally he called a cult member, LOL. Alex has been fighting the good fight for a long time. I hold no ill will toward him. For my part, I shouldn't have lashed out so quickly. Hopefully, this will end the matter so we can all get back to fighting for this country. Yes.
Oh, yeah, and you're just the guys to do it.
Yes, absolutely.
What a crackerjack crew of political theorists we have here.
Yes. But you know who's very happy about that? Eric Doherty, the big soda whore, one of the guys who got paid to smear the Maha soda crackdown, whatever came of that. I assume nothing. Eric Doherty says, Catturd and Alex Jones have made up. This is the way. Whew, what a relief. See, this is their whole money-making scheme right here.
Yeah.
The whole grift.
Well, isn't Catturd fucked if now Elon has kicked him off? Like, isn't this his only platform.
I mean, he has
really?
a podcast, but yeah, this is where he generates.
Podcast?
This is the
But
big money maker.
But isn't this where the podcast really gets?
Yeah, I mean, this is
viewership.
The X account is huge engagement. That's got to be huge money, and so this is all huge money because they all make a lot of money on X, and the accounts that Elon likes are boosted. We all know that. Anybody who uses X knows that. But they also MAGAs. That's the big money there because he's the president, right? He's got tens of millions of people. So they have to kind of keep that coalition together, even though Trump and Elon are on the outs. This fucking guy here, this is the way. More of this. Can confirm that Catturd privately reached out to me yesterday about a few of my tweets and offered to personally get on a phone call with me to share his point of view. This is how you handle disagreement among friends. And by some of his tweets,
are so fucking pathetic.
By some of his tweets, he means this. Would you just pick up the phone and call each other? He's talking to Elon and Trump now. Somebody hand both of these men a goddamn phone. Yeah, he was pretty upset. He was pretty panicked. You know who tried to be a cool voice of reason here? Bill Ackman says, I support real Donald Trump and Elon Musk, and they should make peace for the benefit of our great country. We are much stronger together than apart. You know who also played it really cool?
Does he
Sorter.
know? Is he talking about this country?
Yeah.
Where is he? Where is he? The Bahamas?
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. Nick Sorter also trying to play it cool here, saying the people egging this on are the real freaking problem here. It's not Trump or Elon. It's everybody pouring gas on the fire. Let's all calm down. Like Jack Posobiec, he was totally calm. This was probably the funniest of all the reactions to the Elon-Trump falling out. Some of y'all can't handle two high agency males in your mouth at the same time. Oh, no, that's not what it says. It says, sorry, I got ahead of myself.
Some of you still have a gag reflex.
Yeah. Some of y'all, let's see what it actually says. Some of y'all can't handle two high agency males going at it. It's not much better. And it really shows. This is direct communication, phallocentric. Versus indirect communication, gynocentric. I understand you aren't used to it, to which the gay Republican says, I personally love watching two high agency males going at it. Yeah, man, look, I say this, I say this over and over again, and I am vindicated over and over again. There is a homoerotic undercurrent running throughout MAGA.
Like it's not even a joke.
These people, no, it's not a joke. They have romantic love for Donald Trump.
A trans with a schmendrick swinging it in a girl's bathroom.
I mean, they simply do. There's nothing wrong with that. Everybody has their crush, right? You get teenage girls with the movie star poster on the ceiling, whatever. It's normal. It's fine. There's nothing wrong with it. But it is important to understand where they're coming from because this is part of why he can do no wrong. Because they love him. They're in love with him. They are smitten by him. And I mean, what could be more revealing than that? This is direct phallocentric communication versus gynocentric communication that you're used to. I understand you aren't used to it. So Catturd and Alex Jones did patch things up, and they're trying their best to move on. Injured, but not dead. Down, but not out. But yes, very important for them to hold this together, which was what was so delicious about the breakup and the falling out, because you could just see the gears grinding in the heads of the Alex Jones and the Von Swolls and the Jack Posobics. What are we going to do? This is going to be a point where we're going to have to take a side and lose a lot of audience. And, they're trying to hold it together as best they can. Best of luck.
Yeah, I'm gonna murder this. We used it in a segment like last week. But there's that great quote about, it starts out a cause, becomes a business, and then turns into a racket.
Right.
This MAGA distinguishes itself by being maybe the first movement that started as a racket and didn't go through the two intermediate steps first.
Right. Started as a racket, became a grift, and then a crime, right? Then an embezzlement scheme. Yeah, like that's what it turns into. Yeah, started as a racket, then it became a grift, then it became a money laundering operation. Yes.
Then it became a meme coin.
Then it became a meme coin. Then it became Elon Musk selling shower heads in the Home Depot parking lot like the other illegal aliens who need their companies investigated. Yes, that's where all roads lead. All right. Michael in Taiwan says Musk has a history of burning bridges with allies over nothing. Taibbi and Brett Weinstein have stories. Yes, they do. Fat Not So Fat says Elon is such a genius. All his companies rely on government subsidies, and he decides to pick a fight on a guy that can, with the stroke of a pen, destroy him. That's right. Very, very reckless stuff. All right, we're going to take a quick pause for a word from 1775 Coffee. Still haven't tried 1775 coffee? Well, now's your shot. The 1775 starter kit just dropped, only 1,000 units. You're getting the bold dark roast that hits harder than a CNN fact check, the smooth medium roast, and the Vitality mushroom coffee for clean energy and laser focus. No crash. All single origin, small batch, toxin free, and mold free. Plus, you're also getting in this kit a gold spoon clip, because Freedom isn't scooped with plastic, a frother a frother that's strong enough to stir up your coffee and your mother-in-law's political opinions, and a black 1775 tumbler that says, I don't take life advice or caffeine from a woke sea witch. $170 worth of coffee and gear, yours for $99. This is for the ones who've been watching 1775 blow up on Rumble, wondering if it's actually worth it. Spoiler, it is. It comes very well reviewed from the dissidents who have tried it. So go to 1775coffee.com/studio and grab your starter kit before they're gone. Bold beans, clean fuel, and a morning routine that stands for something, just like Rumble does. So start your day with the coffee that actually backs what you believe. Okay. In the year 2525. Yes, we have hit that, and we are also at 1,334 likes. Beautiful. Round of applause for Jake in the booth. Long show tonight. We're almost done. We got one more segment. It's not terribly long. And then we have Russ's intermission. And after the intermission, I will play for you guys my send-off to Elon Musk and Donald Trump on the Rumble side, since that is some copyrighted music. But my rendition of Romeo and Juliet starring Elon Musk and Donald Trump. So we are going to head over to Rumble in just a few minutes for the Q&A. We'll take a couple of these Rumble rants first. Jeremy Scahill says Vito has done some great work over the years. Read everything, develop your own opinion, not someone else's. No, he's a great reporter for sure. Katie Halper suggested the documentary Defamation. I told Misty to watch Deformation. All right, thank you. Trump, he misses the place. He wasn't in this beautiful office. There's something about this office. Steve Bannon, 2017. Trump, in fact, found the White House to be vexing and even a little scary. Monkey Rotary, thanks for the $20, says this is the same thing that happened to Hitler. Too many drugs. There goes the empire down the drug-fueled drain. Yeah, he was a crazy drug.
I've heard
addict.
that.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. All right, folks. We are going to do one more segment on the evening. So, FBI Director Kash Patel went on the Joe Rogan Experience, and we have something in common with Joe Rogan, which is that we were also live on the air. Joe was recording, but same principle. At the time that Elon Musk's bombshell tweet about Trump being in the Epstein files was posted. So we're going to take a listen to their reaction. We wish we could show you the video, but we are apparently on the Joe Rogan Experience shit list of channels to copyright block when we play their stuff. So we're going to have to do this audio only.
We think he got very butthurt about the Mark Andreessen video.
Maybe.
It started after that.
All right, here we go. So here's their reaction, and listen for Kash Patel's reaction to this.
Because it's been going on since we've been recording here. Elon and Trump seem to be in a bit of a spat. Joe, you want to check the tweet that Elon just put out a little bit ago?
Time to drop the really big bomb. Donald Trump is in the Epstein files. That's the real reason they have not been made public. Have a nice day. Jesus Christ.
I'm not participating in any of that conversation
what
between
is he?
Elon
Have
and
a
Trump.
nice day, DJT. Someone should take his phone away.
They're going back and forth about different things. And
yeah.
Listen, well, he said he was disappointed in Elon.
Yeah, they told him to leave.
Jesus Christ, that's a crazy thing to say. How does he know? Does he know that Donald Trump is in the Epstein files? Or does he have access to the Epstein files?
I don't know how he would, but I'm just staying out of the Trump Elon thing. That's way outside my lane.
What the fuck are they?
What? But I mean, maybe the gossip is outside your lane, but certainly the Epstein files aren't outside your lane. What do you mean that's not outside my lane? Elon said Trump is in the Epstein files. You supposedly have access to the files. So how is this outside your lane?
Yeah, you could just say he's not.
Yeah, this is like an administration of audience captured podcast.
Or you could
like,
say
I don't want
is
to pick
if
a
you
side.
really want to blow up the world.
Yeah, right, yeah, no, but it's like it's like audience capture only for people running the government. Oh yeah, I can't get involved. Hey, you know, that's one of those things. You just got to punt on that. Hey, that's outside my purview.
I know my lane, and that ain't it.
I just don't. I mean, I understand he owns Twitter. I think it's bad for your mental health. I think posting things public all day and arguing with people all day is bad for you.
Yeah. Well, you raise a great point. Sorry to cut you off.
Go ahead.
Sorry.
Half of what we have to respond to is the click army on social media.
Yeah, that you were a part of for many years.
Yeah.
That's the other thing. So yes, so that was part of the news. But then also they did talk more in detail about the Epstein files. And here's Kash Patel's reason for not releasing some of the videos that they have that supposedly incriminate not only Epstein himself, but the many people on this supposed list, wherever it may be. So Ken Klippenstein tweets out, Kash Patel says the FBI won't release certain Jeffrey Epstein videos because we're not going to re-victimize the women.
The video from the island.
Oh, that's sorry. So you're talking about two different things. So
sorry.
So yeah. So again, we're going to give you everything we can, and people have to remember, we're not
going to give you everything we can. So we're not going to give you all of it. We're going to give you everything we can.
We're going to re-victimize women.
Not going to re-victimize women.
Everything we can, and people have to remember, we're not going to re-victimize women. We're not going to put that shit back out there. It's not happening, because then he wins. Not doing it.
Who wins? Jeffrey Epstein? Jeffrey Epstein's dead. What do you mean he wins? I mean, I think he's pretty much taken care of at this point.
Yeah.
I think what people are curious about is who else needs to go to prison for having participated in horrific crimes with and or for Jeffrey Epstein, because they certainly wouldn't win if these tapes were put out there. If that evidence were released, they wouldn't win. That's point number one. Point number two is you don't have to release the tapes. You just have to press charges against whoever's on the tapes. Like the public doesn't necessarily have to see the evidence. You have to have the evidence, and you say, based on this evidence, we are pressing charges. That's all. That's all. You don't have to show it to us first. Now, if it goes to trial and they fight it, then that evidence becomes a matter of public record where people can access it. Unless you redact it, there may be something you can do. But you don't have to put it out right now. You just have to figure, hey, who's on those tapes? Let's go get them. You seem to want to go get everybody else. This crew cannot wait to threaten people and put people in jail and deport them and detain them and hassle them. We will find you. That's the motto for everybody else, except whoever is on this list, except for whoever is on these tapes.
Yeah, you always know that a public figure is bullshitting when they go right to invoking community standards of decency.
Right.
We're not going to re-victimize these women. He wins. That's somebody trying to hide something. That's somebody trying to deflect questions. Yeah. You don't go right to that, especially when obviously the core nobody expects you to put out videos of triple X sex acts with these women in them.
Right.
Nobody's talking about that.
Right.
Presumably, if you did release tapes like that, yes, of course, you would completely block them out.
You'd block them out. Exactly.
You'd block them out, and you would just show the perpetrator.
Right.
And even them, you would just show their face.
Right.
Right.
Exactly.
So the fact that he's going to, there's no other way other than to release pornographic triple X videos to show who's on those tapes. No other way.
Right. Right.
Get me for it. Fine. Again, logical play out. If there was a video of some guy or gal committing felonies on an island and I'm in charge, Don't you think you'd see it?
No, I don't.
No,
But based
no.
on what you're saying, no. Based on how you guys are acting, no, I don't think we'd see it. That's the whole point. The whole point is you're acting in a way that makes us believe no.
You're acting very squirrely.
Hey, why would I? Yes, this is like George Costanza when his boss finds out that he gave the fake donation cards as Christmas presents. George says, "Are you saying that I made up a charity to hand out cards?" And he's like, "Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. Yes, that's exactly what this looks like because that's exactly what happened."
If you have access to it.
If I have it, period.
Right.
If I have it.
So
where else would it be?
Right. If you have it.
Right.
But you can't say that you have it.
No, we're giving you everything we have.
So far.
Everything we have so far is.
Have you guys gone over all the video that's available?
Yeah, that's what I'm telling you. That's what takes so much damn time.
Right.
And
is there video from the island?
Not of what you want. The people out there have filled the void with can't wait to see X, Y, or Z.
Right, speculation.
Okay, so remember that for a second, because we just have to contrast that with the pre-FBI director, Kash Patel, on Benny Johnson, wondering what the hell are these Republicans doing? What is all the feet dragging on the Epstein materials?
With Epstein's list, it's like, what the hell are these Republicans doing? Oh,
I saw you
give out the list.
I saw you make news this morning about that. I got to get to that.
Yeah.
You say that the FBI has Epstein's list. They're sitting on it. That doesn't seem like something you should do. You're protecting the world's foremost predator.
Yeah.
That seems like an evil thing to do, regardless of who may be embarrassed in the release of that list. Why is the FBI protecting the greatest pederast, the largest scale pederast in human history?
Simple, because of who's on that list. You don't think that Bill Gates is lobbying Congress night and day to prevent the disclosure of that list?
Gates.
And why is it that the Senate, and
see, it's easy to just talk shit into a microphone and just mention Bill Gates every 3 minutes, and this way your audience thinks that you're red-pilled and that they're getting the truth. I mean, that's super easy. That's a lot easier than actually being the FBI director and having to handle the evidence, I guess. I guess it's a lot easier to just talk shit.
Good for Senator Blackburn to try to get it out. But then Dick Durbin comes over the top and says, no, we're not going to release the names. I don't care about the list itself, but if you release the names, right? What the hell are the House Republicans doing? They have the majority. You can't get the list? You're going to accept Dick Durbin's word or whoever that guy is as to who is on that list and who isn't, and that it can and can't be released? Put on your big boy pants and let us know who the pedophiles are. We have an election coming up, and we need to adjudicate this matter at the polls.
That's right. God damn it. Put on your big boy pants, Dick Durbin. Oh, put on your big boy pants, Kash Patel. Let's take a look at this. Catturd says something's wrong. I love that. I mean, it's just, you talk about playing people like a fiddle, man. Something's wrong. Oh, what could be wrong? Nothing is wrong. Nothing is wrong. This was just a giant mind fuck played on half of the population who thought they were getting an anti-deep state revolution. Instead, they're getting Palantir with ICE, right? I mean, that's what this is. This is Palantir on the rocks. That's Trump 2024. So let's take a look. Contrasting, let's see, what does Catturd think is so wrong? Because on the one hand, you see Kash Patel saying, hey, yeah, look, we've gone over what we have. And on the other hand, you see Pam Bondi saying there's tens of thousands of hours that they have to comb through.
Oh, play out. If there was a video of some guy or gal committing felonies on an island and I'm in charge, don't you think you'd see it?
Tens of thousands of videos of Epstein with children or child, and there are hundreds of victims, and no one victim will ever get released. It's just the volume, and that's what they're going through right now. The FBI is diligently going.
Okay, so those two things seem to pretty obviously contradict each other. So let's take a look here. Matt Van Swall says, call me crazy, but something is up with Pam Bondi. I don't trust her at all. Yeah, she is the Mike Pompeo of this cabinet, right? Every bad decision that Trump made the last time, they would blame on Pompeo, and now it looks like Pam Bondi, she is the fall girl. Donna says, no, Kash is lying. I can feel the withdrawal of his energy, which means he's lying. When a person lies, you lose the energetic support, and he is clearly hiding and lying. So they're throwing accusations back and forth. Here's the real truth here. This is what is wrong. Kash Patel, Pam Bondi, along with John Ratcliffe et al., who is the CIA director now, know that Jeffrey Epstein worked for the Mossad, Israeli intelligence, and they have the videos and files that would incriminate all the elite and powerful people in the world. And so what videos they have or do not have, we do not know, but we can say almost for certain that he was an Israeli intelligence asset, and here that is being articulated right now.
Scandal. Now, as part of our investigation, we spoke to Ari Ben Mashani, who is a former Israeli spy. He said on the record unequivocally that Jeffrey Epstein was working for Israeli intelligence operations, the Mossad, and running a classic honey trap operation. That is, lure people inside, record their activities, and learn about their peccadillos and use it to blackmail them. This is a former spy on the record in the new book, Epstein, Dead Men Tell No Tales. Interestingly, this person was also the handler of Jeffrey Epstein's best friend and ex-girlfriend, Ghislaine Maxwell. She was said to have been one of the women who helped procure the underage girls for Epstein. She has denied that. But her father was Robert Maxwell, a media and press baron who owned the Mirror News Group in England and also the New York Daily News. He was a former Mossad agent. And according to my source, Ari Ben Mashari, the business that Robert Maxwell had was turned over to Jeffrey Epstein almost in a switch before Robert Maxwell died in mysterious circumstances off the back of a boat in 1991.
Well, this is mind-boggling stuff.
It sure is. That's Dylan Howard, author of the book Epstein, Dead Men Tell No Tales. So yes, that's what's wrong. That's what's wrong. That's pretty obviously what's wrong. This isn't about personalities. It's not about Pam Bondi. It's not about Kash Patel. It's about what information the public is allowed to know, no matter who is in office or who is in power, and what information they are not to be privy to under any circumstances. What's wrong here is that this group was able to sell a lot of people on a lot of bullshit, that they were going to go in and they were going to dismantle the deep state and all secrets would be revealed. What have we gotten? What have we gotten on JFK? What have we gotten on Martin Luther King? They released a page of Martin Luther King about how he had a lot of sex, which everybody knew. Right. What have we gotten on any of this? Nothing. Nothing. Right. You got nothing. You're getting $1 billion contract to Palantir. You're getting $45 billion worth of ICE jails. You're getting the worst of what we could have expected from a third term of George W. Bush. If George W. Bush thought, you know what if I just drop all pretense that this is a democratic society and a beacon of light to the world and that we have to lead by example? What if I just drop all that pretext and just do what we really want to do? That's what you have now. That's what you have now. And you have nothing else. You have nothing else. And this is such a betrayal of the base that I think this is really something that has damaged them. The fact that they are so obviously stonewalling here, because it's even too much to sort of cope their way out of for a lot of these people. As you can see, they're having a hard time handling it.
Yeah. This, you can see it at the macro level, at the top level with Trump and Musk. And you can see it at the rank and file level with the conversation around this. That is our greatest hope as a nation. A movement made up of just frustrated, angry, emotionally unstable people. That is not a stable coalition that you can hold together. They're bound to turn on each other because they don't really have principles or a formed philosophical code of conduct to live by. These are a bunch of rage tweeting morons who really can't manage their lives, much less think their way through to a political theory to govern the nation by. They're not going to be able to sail their way through disappointments and betrayals. They're just not emotionally mature enough as a class to really manage life. That's how they wound up in such an obviously farcical idiocracy inspired kind of a movement. And now that the reality is hitting, they're turning on each other, like people like this always will. They always will turn on each other, because there is no overarching ideal by which they can settle disputes. What's their overarching ideal? Loyalty to Donald Trump? Well, what happens when he disappoints you? Well, so then you're going to see what you see now. These people are betraying the dear leader by speaking ill of him, and then the other ones are hewing close to him, and they all start fighting. Catturd versus Alex Jones. That's a great metaphor for this whole movement.
Yes, 100%. All right, folks. Well, that is our show. We are going to take our remaining Rumble rants and super chats and then head over for the Q&A. DoDissidents.com/Rumble. Russ has a good intermission for you. And then come over and watch my Romeo and Juliet send-off to Elon and Trump. We can't play that here on YouTube because of copyright, but we will play it over there before the Q&A. It's only 3 minutes long. I think you'll enjoy that for those who have not seen that on Twitter. Let's go to Ravid Laz says, if I were Elon, I'd publicly offer $100 million to whoever leaks the Epstein files. There you go. Monkey Rotary, boom, only 40 minutes late. Thank you. Progressive Lefty, my friends don't understand why I spend so much time following politics. They are so missing out on the shit show comedy. That's right.
Seriously.
That's right.
Funny
First Queen
times.
Fire Dancer says, still haven't tried 1775 coffee. Where have you been? Get it? Yes, the coffee joke and Grifter Douglas Murray joke. Fucking legend. That's right. You are a legend, Furrows Queen. Thank you, Furrows Queen. Healing Tarzan. One way Elon might salvage his brand while recouping losses would be to bribe Gavin Newsom to buy unsaid Cybertrucks to repurpose as shelters for the homeless. There you go. Goo81 says, on the 5th of June, Alan Dershowitz has recommended that Ghislaine Maxwell to be pardoned. Saw it on Sabby's show. Oh, wow, that's pretty crazy.
You're kidding. Really?
That is pretty nuts. Wow. Garble, thanks for the $2. Ow, XP, it's a game now. Thank you, Garble. Appreciate that very much. Okay. All right, folks. Well, that is our program. Thank you to Jake in the booth. Thank you to all of our YouTubers, to all of our Rumblers. Thanks to our mods for keeping the peace in the chat. The show continues over on Rumble, where we will be joined by our callers for a Q&A, as well as some additional fun stuff. So please head on over there right now. You can go to DoDissidents.com/Rumble. Follow that link. That takes you right to this live stream. We will continue on with the Q&A after a brief intermission, where we will continue the show and take some calls. If you're not joining us for the Q&A, we will see you on the Jimmy Dore Show tomorrow, 6 p.m. Eastern, and then back here on Tuesday at 2 p.m. Eastern. Until then, thanks very much for being here tonight. Appreciate you all very much. Be safe and be well.
Courage!
Please clap.